We've been doing this show for drawing close to a year now, and I'm pleased that so many of you have joined us on this journey, and it is a journey. Many of you found my channel and decided to embark on a life-changing quest of becoming a solid, unshakable, savage investor in the crypto space. Many of you found the real Randy Chavez and fell in love with his authenticity, his 100% sincerity, knowing he means what he says, and also his savage investment bets against all odds over the years that turned out very well. When most told him at those times that he was crazy to go all in on Tesla before it then went 7x, or crazy with his Pokemon card bets. Many of you perhaps finding Dr. of Stuff and his unshakable logic, his sound explanations of what he sees going on, and his magnetic draw that he has where everyone wants to hear his thoughts on things as they get to know him. Now, I love these co-hosts, and I love sharing this OMI journey with you. The price of OMI is down even more. This morning, Paul and I, in our episode Buy, Wait, or Sell, we looked at OMI, and the chart doesn't look like the bottom is in. It may go down further. And I'll be frank, most of the crypto space wouldn't touch OMI with a 10-foot pole. And I think they're missing the bigger picture big time. Though OMI may go down even more, the price is so massively undervalued. It is shaking out even more people in this early bull run as people are panicking out of what they feel are the high-risk alts into larger cap alts that have run up some already, because those feel like a much safer bet. And perhaps they are, and perhaps it only feels like a much safer bet. Now, when it feels like a much safer bet, that doesn't always mean it is a safer bet. And we're going to take a deeper look at that a little bit later on. I'm excited to welcome my co-host to the show. Dr. of Stuff is able to join us again, and he hasn't been able to a lot lately. So we're so glad to have him here. And the real Randy Chavez. So if you haven't already, make it rain on that like button and strap in for the show.
What's up, Rain? Everyone. How you doing, Randy? Good to see you, gentlemen.
Doing so well. Good to see you guys. Well, yeah. I was just in a panic because like altcoins are down, and I was just deciding, maybe I'm going to sell all my crypto and I don't know, buy ice cream and cry.
Get all in the feels, for sure.
Just kidding.
So, yeah, no. Listen, I was talking to a buddy of mine that recently jumped in pretty big into crypto, like 2 weeks ago when things were down, right? Jumped in 6 figures into crypto, and he's down 30%.
Is he freaking out?
No, he's not. I mean, he's not freaking out because I feel like I did a good job of prepping him for volatility. And when he purchased, I said, listen, like it can go down from it. And it was funny because like for the first week, he was up pretty good, right? And then all of a sudden now he's down 30% from where he entered in. And I asked him, I said, how are you feeling with this? And he said, I realized that when I put this in, that there's going to be a lot of volatility. And I didn't expect it like this quickly or that big, And I think until you're in the ring, you just have no idea what the swings are like. You can see it on the charts, but it's not until it's your real money and you see the value of that money drop that you feel the pain, right? And a lot of people, when they feel that pain, they're like, I can't take that risk anymore. But like, yeah, but he's holding strong, like I said, 30% down. And I said, look, and it's great because he has a longer term perspective, and he's saying we still haven't seen a lot of crypto regulation and clarity in this space. Like I still think that there's a long way to go. Now he's in a lot of tokens that he believes more in like real world asset type stuff, right? That it's not speculation. It's like these things should have an impact in the future, whether it's with financial institutions, exchanges, like all of these different things, right? So he's definitely looking at real world assets and things and tokens tied to that. But even those are getting hit really hard right now.
Yeah, everything's getting punished right now, and it feels like a scary time to be in this space. Let me ask you, Randy, you invested in Tesla in, I think it was early 2021, but before it went 7x up, and it was actually a counter trade because most people were saying Tesla was so overvalued and that it was just going to get savage. How did it feel when you bought it before it did massive gains?
It felt, well, at first I didn't feel much because I didn't put that much in it at first. I had taken a look. Whenever somebody says, a large group of people are saying, hey, this is a bad idea, this is a bad idea, I always like, they're probably right, but what if they're wrong? Every now and then they are. And I took a look, and every single one of these analysts on CNBC or MSNBC, there's like, Tesla's a car company and it's worth more than most of these other car companies and they're not profitable. And I was like, okay, well, let's look down, like, are they a car company? But I followed Elon for a little bit. I was like, it doesn't seem like he would just make a car company. It seems like he would, and I went over his first business plans, like, okay, make a high-end car, and then go in and use those profits to make a cheaper car, use those profits to make a cheaper car. And then looking at the time, it was just data collection with all the driving, and then the full self-driving. It wasn't what it is today. It was kind of trash back in 2019. But it was still innovative, and with the over-the-air software updates, this was not a car company. It was more of a software company that happened to sell cars, but everyone was viewing it like a car company. It's like when a veterinarian goes in and says, like, okay, here's the 3 diseases that any one of my clients is likely to have. Let's see what symptoms you have that'll fit these 3 diseases. When a lot of times I've seen vets from better schools, they say, like, they don't have that prejudice. They go in and they say, okay, what is wrong with my client, and let's determine based on this, we'll find out what disease it has. Now, 95% of the time, it's going to be, both those doctors will come to the same conclusion, and it's going to be one of those, 3 or 4 things. But a lot of times those vets that say, like, that do that exploratory thoughts, they go in and they say, okay, well, actually, this is this, or this is, a lot of her ear infections are like, oh, well, my dog's always had these ear infections. We always use Mometamax. And some vets will be like, yeah, it's probably the same thing. And they don't even bother to do like a ear swab or a culture. And some vets will be like, hey, I know this is going to cost more, to do the test, to do the swabs, to make sure it's the right thing. But in case it's not, in case it's a different disease in there, and we need to use Animax, we need to do something else, I'd rather not take that chance. And they're very thorough in what they do. And a lot of these analysts were like those kind of not great veterinarians that I've worked with they're like, oh, this is probably this. If it looks like a car company, acts like it's probably a car company, and they don't verify. And on top of that, people were saying, like, hey, Tesla was not profitable. And to their credit, they were right. But were they not profitable because they couldn't sell the cars? No, it's quite the opposite. They would sell everything they make. They would have very little product out there, like, sitting on the lots, because they would sell everything that they would make. And they're not profitable because they were using those would-be profits to build other giga companies, gigafactories, to go in and pay these designers to expand. And I've seen that before in the high-risk lending business. Hey, you don't have any money in the account because you're taking on more work before you're getting paid from the last job, and you're taking out credit cards. This is why banks are declining you. But the value is there, and I see it now with VeVe. I mean, a lot of these tokens here, you have Definity, and it's not public what they're making, but it's probably a decent amount. I mean, they're always working. You have it with VeVe and Omi. I went over the other day where our particular Lambo drop on VeVe was considered like a failure to most, and that's, it made like 10, 11 grand on the first day. Not great for a Lambo drop. But then by the second day, it had made like 22, 23,000. And that's still considered a failure on VeVe, grossing well into the 5 figures, is a home run in any other digital collectibles company. And I feel like people are kind of missing that point. And again, the revenues are here. It would be one thing if there was declining, whatever, which there is, there's been declining usership, and then you would see them lay off staff. And granted, the thudders will be like, well, actually, there have been a few jobs that have been disestablished, and they're right. But are those jobs being disestablished because they can't afford to pay their people, or because we have a new CEO that's built these companies before, is a freaking shark, and he's saying, hey, you're not justifying your salary, you're not pulling your weight, and that's what a lot of these awesome companies do. Every quarter, they cut the fat. They cut, like, look at the bottom 10%. Like, why are you in the bottom 10%? Do we just have these amazing people that are just doing absolutely incredible, and you're still doing well, and that's why you're in the bottom? Or are you not pulling your weight? And again, I don't know exactly what Ben's doing, but it seems that like that's what he's doing. And again, you have these revenues, they're hiring more people, especially for marketing. Even if Ben wasn't here, VeVe had enough money to throw at the problem where they would get the right combination. If VeVe's a patient and it's sick, they would have enough capital to throw. They'll get the right amount of meds, the right combination to get it to where it needs to go. But with Ben here, I'm uber confident that they'll do that in record time. So I know that was really long-winded. I'm sorry about that.
Yes. Problem with when it feels right. So you bought Tesla, and it was scary because all the analysts were saying, oh my gosh, it's massively overvalued. It's worth more than all these car companies, and they're profitable, and Tesla's not profitable. Therefore, it's not going to do well. And then it went 7x. Why? Because you use research to look deeper. And I want to talk today about what it feels like, right? So a lot of my audience, they've been with me for like 3 years, and I've shared with them that like bear markets are hard. And crypto is hard. Like, it's fairly simple what you have to do, but simple isn't very easy. And Omi's an amazing example. Like, I think Omi's going to do really well. I feel like the substance behind VeVe is so strong that Omi's is close to a no-brainer as you get in crypto. And when you say the word no-brainer, there is no true no-brainer where there's no risk whatsoever. Because if there was no risk, there would be no potential reward. There's always risk that it could fail. But I wanted to use this chart, and I wanted to talk about when things feel like they're scary versus when things really are scary. And I want to use the example of Solana. And Solana is an interesting example because there was a point in Solana's history during 2022 and early 2023 where Solana's price was absolutely tanking. And it had just gone down massively, right? So way up here in November 2021, after the metaverse pump, and then it just got crushed and then crushed and then really crushed. And it actually, though this chart doesn't show it, hit $7. Now, is it fair to say during this time that it felt very scary to be buying Solana?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
It felt very scary. Why? Because you couldn't see any evidence that the chart was going to turn around. It had done nothing but get savaged and savaged and savaged. And the one actual concern that you're dealing with when you're investing in crypto projects is this project going to fail? So really, that was the only concern, because the price had gone down so cheap that really it's like, okay, Solana's at $7. Is it going to fail from here? Because if it's not going to fail, this is an amazing price. Amazing. It had been all the way up at $260, and it was trading at $7. So if it's not going to fail, then Solana's price was ridiculously underpriced and undervalued, and people would figure it out. The concern a lot of people had was, well, Solana's going to fail because Sam Bankman-Fried closed his doors and FTX has crashed, and he was a big backer of Solana, so therefore Solana's going to fail was the big narrative out there. But guess what? Solana didn't fail, and for a while it didn't recover strongly. It went up to $25. But later on, as Solana and meme coins narrative came back, Solana really took off and went to over $200. And then is all the way up recently at $200, almost $300 before pulling back. And guess what's interesting about this? Guess what felt safe to buy at these prices? Solana, because everyone's like, oh, Solana's made it. They're safe. They're safe. They're safe. Well, I don't know what kind of safe you're talking about. From the bottom of $7 to the top, it'd gone up over 40x already. So what are you safe from when you're buying at almost $300? You're safe from probably not having much profits left in the run. If it does 4x from there, that means it did, goodness, 160x from the bottom, which is crazy for something as large a market cap as Solana. So what were you safe from? It felt safe. Everyone, if you looked around, you told everyone you were buying Solana, everyone's like, oh, yeah, you're smart. Yep. Oh, nice, safe bet. What really should be going on in your mind is, holy shiz, this is risky, because the only thing unsafe about buying Solana down here was, is Solana going to fail? And if your assessment of, man, it's going to be hard, but it's not going to fail, then this was a very safe bet. This is an extremely risky bet. Now, what I'm sharing with you, 90% of people in crypto don't see it this way. And this is why they do terrible, and they cannot buy low and sell high. To them, this is safe, and this is risky. To me, this is safe, and this is very, very risky. And as you rewire your brain to understand things that way, now, are there some risks? Yeah, Solana could have failed. That was the risk. When it went way down here, that was the risk of, will Solana fail?
When it was down there and you had the risk of it failing, did it ever move out of the top 20 for cryptos?
It might have moved out of the top 20. I don't remember where it was on CoinMarketCap at that time. Everything was going down, but they went down a lot more than most large caps. So my imagination is it pushed him out of the top 20. Okay. And really the big scare was FTX is failing, Sam Bankman-Fried, and he was one of the big backers behind Solana. So therefore, Solana is going to fail. It's like, wait, but he's only some of the impetus behind it. Why is Solana going to fail? Well, they had some failed, their blockchain got so much usage, it failed at these transactions. Like, yeah, but that was like a year ago. Like, why is Solana going to fail? But they couldn't articulate a strong reason. It was, I'm scared, I'm getting out.
It's interesting, Rain, because like I hated Solana back in the day because I did some investments with some tokens that had some massive hype, and then they did their TGE on Solana, and it broke the chain, right? Two different ones where I had significant money in it, and the token tanked because people were just like, oh, Solana can't work. It's that narrative. But it was so interesting. And so because of that, I checked out. But I kept hearing from all of these people, these devs that were like, I love building on Solana. It's so great. It's such a great ecosystem to build. And I was like, yeah, but it feels like you're building the airplane like in flight. And I was like, that's so risky for me, right? And then the FTX stuff happened. And that's when I was like, for me, why I didn't buy Solana at $8, because I did feel like, look, I think that this is going to fail, only because like Sam Bankman-Fried had so much money invested in Solana and FTX and all of that debacle. But on top of that, I was just like, I haven't seen it be able to support a lot of transactions, and that's what it was built for. And so, that's, but that
it still can't. Is the funny thing is, and hasn't stopped it from going to $300 recently.
Yeah, so it's wild, but like, I mean, at some point though, right? Like those were my emotions speaking, right? Where I had been hosed by Solana, and so I'm like, because of my experience, I didn't want to get back in, even though there was devs who were like, we're still building on Solana. So Solana's at $8. We're still building on Solana, and I didn't listen to that, right? Like the logic would then dictate. Is it going to fail if there's still devs that are really building on this, right? And it wasn't just like one-off dev. Like there was multiple like posts and all this stuff that people were like, we're still building. We still got like these companies and these projects that are building on Solana today at $8. And I ignored that because of my emotions, right? But when I think I jumped back in at around $30, right? Where I was like, okay, like I feel like it's not at risk of dying anymore, and still got some okay gains, but nowhere near if I had bought in $8 or $10, right?
And
That's why I really like flow here, because I've noticed over the past couple of weeks they've had announcements, or other people have announced like, hey, we're on flow now, hey, we're doing this, and it's just like, I know the price is just absolutely horrible, but well, I mean, it's horrible if you bought it at like $1 or $1.30, you know, your stuff is cut in half or down 60-70%. But it's nice if like you believe in it long term, they're still making revenues, people are still building on it. I like it there.
Yeah, and Flow and Omi are in similar boats. And so let's talk about whether this feels safe to buy, which is Omi, right? If you look at Omi's price chart, and unfortunately, looking at this on TradingView, it misses a lot of history that I wish it had. It really picks up, starts tracking it from early October 2021. And with the January, like it had gone much higher back in March of 2021, all the way to 1.4 cents. But with this is when the digital collectibles narrative really, really took off for VeVe specifically. And VeVe collectibles went crazy. Their token did as well through January of 2022. And since then, like Omi's done nothing but go down. And here, tons of people freaking out, tons of people panicking out because it feels scary. Omi's dead. I wanted to share like a recent comment I got on last week's video. And he said he actually had a really good response after his first one. But at first he said, "You have had 21K subscribers for 3 years. My advice, take off the stupid glasses and quit talking about a dead project. Omi blows." I was like, cool. I said, well, LOL, your suggestion is to cover what is already expensive? Every channel gives you exactly that. My goal isn't more subscribers. It is to attract those who get it, not those who don't. Those who understand buying low means when people like you say a project is dead. People who make an issue out of the glasses also aren't who I'm looking for. So yes, I'm saying you're not my intended audience, and it's okay. He actually sent a really cool response after that. I was somewhat surprised. And so I think he was just feeling the frustration, right? And the frustration is real when you have real exposure to something and you see the charts do this on you. It hits you viscerally. And probably he just had like a freak out panic moment of like, oh my gosh, what the hell? And, you know, he was trying to take it out on me. Look, this is part of like when I say being a savage investor, like this is when it's way safer to buy, but it doesn't feel safer. And this is where savage investors make big gains. Is like, yes, was all of these earlier prices a great price? This was all an amazing price zone. This is just a absolutely incredible, can't believe it price zone. And that's where things are at, but it doesn't feel safe. So the real question you have to ask yourself, and you get to answer this for yourself, is VeVe going to die? Like, is Omi going to die? And let's be very real about what the risks are versus what they aren't. So the chart looks disastrous, but what is the chance that Omi dies from here? And I think there's two ways Omi actually dies from here. Number one, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission goes massively after Omi, pursuing it as a security, and you didn't register, and goes after them, trying to destroy them, and perhaps Omi dies at that point. Fair to say we're past that scary point, that now with the new administration and Gary Gensler gone, that risk is mostly off the table. So there's only one other risk, right, of like Omi actually dying, which is, well, I guess two other risks. Number one, VeVe fails. Fair to say VeVe is in a really strong position for a blockchain company that actually has incoming revenues. And if they needed to raise more money, they could sell equity. I mean, my feeling on that is hell yes. My feeling on that is better than most companies in the entire crypto space. Would you all agree with that?
Preach.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So really the only other way that Omi dies from here is say Disney comes in and offers them like $10 billion or something to buy VeVe. And then Disney's like, sorry, we're going to disregard Omi. We don't want to take care of a token. And then David and Dan somehow agree to that type of offer. That's the only other real risk of like Omi actually dying. So I would equate the risk of Omi dying as really low because that could happen. I think David and Dan would be selling us all downriver with taking that kind of deal, and I would be shocked to see that happen, but it's a possibility. I would just give it like less than a 1% chance. I'd give VeVe a chance of failing from here is really, really low, so Omi's not going to die in all likelihood. So therefore, Omi feels less safe, but yet that is your emotions leading you astray. Because this price is so low, the key to making money is buying low to sell high. And the lower you end up getting at, that's where your safety is. Prior to crypto, I used to work for a company that bought homes and then flipped them. And what was so essential in the safety of making money was how low I bought the home. Because sometimes you estimated it cost $100,000 to fix up, and it cost $140,000. So the cheaper you bought the home, the more secure your position was. And yet we're looking at prices like this, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, run, sell, sell." When I'm hoping that people understand when you see prices like this, it's time to dig deeper and analyze for yourself, is this token going to survive? Because if it does survive, this is an extremely inexpensive buy point. And maybe it's time to evaluate, is this a buy or is this a sell, or is this really the buy opportunity you've been looking for your whole life?
It's interesting about some of these tokens, and for people who weren't here during the last bull run, but there were some projects that were down and were called dead as well, right? And then they pumped massively, and it was so funny to hear all of these pundits be like, of course it was going to come back. Of course it was going to do this, right? Like after it had already happened, I was like, wait a second. I mean, you keep saying of course, but like, where were you when the token was down significantly? Not talking about it, right? Like, but there's a lot of people that like, and that's how I feel about VeVe and Omi, right? Like, I don't know when it's going to hit, but I do think that VeVe and Omi are going to be around a very, very long time. So they absolutely have a chance to hit a massive narrative in the crypto bull run when that happens, right? And then when that happens, whether it's metaverse or AR, VR or digital collectibles or whatever that narrative is that happens to hit it, everyone is going to look back and be like, of course, with the company with the biggest IP in the world, right? Like that of doing it and have made the onboarding process very easy for people so they don't even need to know blockchain or understand that to get in. Of course, that was going to be the thing. And for me, like that's the bet I'm taking, right? And it is a bet. There's risk. I think that everyone wants to know. All right, there's some clowns here in the chat, and I'll bet you it's like the same person on two different accounts, which is so funny to me that people spend the time. But anyways, back to like what I was saying is it is a risk to make these bets, but it's a well-researched bet. And I'll take those all the time, right? Just like Randy with Tesla, and he felt like he had done that. You look at like The Big Short. If any of you guys have read that story, right, during the Great Recession, and the people who made billions of dollars, right, off of these credit default swaps, and basically they had done the research on these AAA rated mortgage-backed securities, and they're like, these are not AAA rated, like these are terrible. There only has to be a very minimal default for these to go completely underwater, and yet Moody's and Standard & Poor's, right, like the people who know credit, the experts, right, were saying that these were AAA rated mortgage-backed securities. But then people did research and dove into that, and everyone was against them for doing that, right? And they're the ones who made the money. And so that's where I like these bets. I don't always win the bets, but some of the bets that I made have done really, really good. Really, really good for me, right? And so like I love this thought process. Like Rain, I'm so in on this. And have been since the beginning, since you started talking about this, buy low, sell high, but like like buy when it's boring is how you put it, right? Because everyone is like, oh yeah, of course, buy low, right? But buy when it's boring, I think makes a lot more sense, right? When people aren't looking at it, or they're afraid, or they're like, it doesn't make sense to me, it's too risky. And you're saying, as long as you don't feel like your bet is this going to die or not? And if it doesn't die, then, and it's boring right now, then this is a pretty good bet. There's still risk, right? There's still risk of loss here. But if it pans out, the returns are a lot greater than buying Solana at its price right now. So I love that.
Yeah, 100%. Want to catch up on some of the comments. Zephazer, let's see if I said that right. Jumped in here first. Turtle just behind him saying first. Bill Gardner, Booth. VeVe Ben says fourth. Love it. Jasper says, hey, Rain, please shout out my massage lady, Allison. Awesome to have you here, Allison. She's new to crypto and is watching first time tonight. Be careful. New to crypto feels like drinking from a fire hose. It can be overwhelming, but it's a good place to be. Lots of great people. VeVe Zombie says, Randy, I'm up to 2420 on Devi. Beer Man in the house. Bill Gardner, everyone catching up with each other. Truckin' Hank says, the best crypto show around. Smash the like button on all 3 channels. Hey, appreciate that. All right. We're all happy to have Doctor of Stuff here. Yeah, we've missed him the last number of weeks. You know, he's hard to schedule these days. He's just, you know, everyone demanding tons of his time.
So to go on the notion of is VeVe dead, is Omi dead, and how do we do this? Very simply, yeah, there's 2 options. In a year or however long, there's one scenario is that VeVe and Omi are dead and done for, and another scenario is that they're still alive. Okay, let's break it down further. Maybe they are not dead by that time, but maybe they're dying. I mean, the token still has a $70-something million market cap. They could be cut in half and still have a $37 million market cap, or however much. And that, you know, fair point. They can, and that still could be a lot for some. That's something that I would hope would happen if Devi goes up, Omi goes down. I don't know if Doc heard, my new goal is 1 billion Omi. And if I can do that, I'd much rather have to just spend 150,000 as opposed to 200-ish thousand as it's up here. But if you take a look at what you say, okay, well, maybe if Disney goes and David and Dan have to agree to sell, I don't know how much ownership Ben has in the company. I don't think a ton. I mean, I know he brought in his own money. I know he bought in like part of it. I don't think Ben would have done that if he was able to sense that David and Dan were planning to sell anytime soon. Obviously, they can't do this forever. I wouldn't want them to. I would want them to, at some point, enjoy their lives and go over. And obviously, they're having fun now. But speaking of Ben, like, people that are misunderstanding or misinterpreting what's going on with the lawsuit. Now, obviously, nobody knows what's going on unless you're actually on the inside. You've either been there or you're, part of the team. But assuming that because Ben's co-CEO, he probably knows a fair amount about what's going on between the Orbis lawsuit and Gadenzi. And I don't think he would be in this position still if he thought that lawsuit was going in a bad way. You might think that it's going in a good way. Now, obviously, there's no way to actually know that unless you're, again, part of that team. But just based on his actions, just based on the stuff that he said over the past few months, how what he said has evolved, it seems like the company is getting ready to turn the corner, go into marketing, release VeVeverse. And again, if they were to sell, like, they have like 30 billion tokens each. There's no way that they sell and they lose out on, like, they could be offered, like they could net hundreds of millions of dollars, by selling the company. But if they do that, okay, well, any gain that the token could have done, which could severely outperform just the couple $100 million that they get for the company, they'd easily go. Now, I'm not saying Omi goes to $1 this time, that'd be $30 billion, but I think it can go to 10 cents. And okay, still have a couple $2 billion there. Like even if it just goes to 6.5 cents, okay. And my base case is 3 to 5 cents, multi-billionaires. So based on everything, I don't think they would do that. And they would not only be screwing themselves, Dr. Profit has helped them out with a lot of stuff. Like there's no reason for Dr. Profit to build out Stacker and for the Ecomi team to help with doing all this if they're just going to sell, if they have plans on dying. So I do hope it goes lower while Devi goes up, so I could sell some Devi and buy into Omi. But that's sorry, Ren, you're on the mute.
I said we're all hoping that Devi goes higher and Omi goes cheaper. Caution, saying stupid stuff in the chat is going to get you banned. Brett and Evan. I'm gonna ask Randy to ban you guys. I don't have any patience for insulting one of my co-hosts and being stupid. So you be stupid, you do stupid things, and you get stupid results. Go tune into someone else you want to listen to. Perfect. We don't need you here. Sorry, this isn't for you. You're not the audience we're looking for, clearly, because look, that's not how like investors talk to each other. That's bullshit.
No, I appreciate that, right? Like that's the thing. People can, I don't mind when people get on here and they're frustrated about a price or something, right? But they get in here and they act like they're 12 years old. It's like, okay, go watch like YouTube Kids.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Like, you just don't need people like
That's
that.
Logan Paul. He's designed his channel for
No
12-year-olds. It is perfect for you.
That is perfect. Yeah. Like the people who had no value, I'm just like, what are you doing with your life? Like what? It's just so sad and pathetic, man, that people have no life and they get on there and all they do is just like be dicks, you know? Like
they're not the people. I've never seen somebody in crypto like that make significant money. They're just approaching it all wrong.
Yeah.
And I've seen some people like that get lucky on like Bored Ape Yacht Club and it goes up and they have one or two of them and they sell them. They spend it like strip clubs and their money's all gone. And they're just broke again because they're not learning how to use money right. And people say the statement all the time, it takes money to make money. And it's not about the money that makes money. It takes knowledge of how to use money to make money. Mm-hmm. And that's what I hope people really are here to learn is the knowledge of how to use money to make money. Because even when crypto isn't the new wave of technology that's booming, there'll be something else. And when you have that knowledge of how to use money smartly, it's going to continue to benefit you for the rest of your life.
So one thing I want to talk about, Wes does this a lot. If you can show Wes's comment of Omi is down 98% and people are surprised that investors are frustrated. To tell you the truth, Wes, there are very, very, very few people who are still holding Omi that bought it at the top. They're out, right? So you keep using that number, like 98% down. Most people who bought Omi aren't 98% down now. And the people who are still holding probably dollar cost averaged. But I get it, right? I get the point that like it's still down from wherever they bought at, right? Like I get that. And there's frustration there. But so are so many other tokens, man. Is it down more than some other tokens? Yes, right. And there's been pumps, like people have made money, like even in this market, people have made money on Omi, right? Like, so it's all where you buy and how you think about doing things. And that's what we're trying to trade right now. Someone said that they lost 6 figures in Omi. That means they sold. That means they bought the top and then they sold, right? And that sucks. That sucks for them. And that, like I bought some at the top. Not at the top. I think my highest buy-in price was probably about like 78 cents. Or not 78 cents, 0.78. What is that? Yeah, like 0.78 cents, right? But like I dollar cost average and I loaded a lot more way down at these prices, over time. Just that dollar cost averaging, man. So like, yeah, are people frustrated? But this is what we're talking about, right? Investors, they get skittish and they get scared because the price has dropped and then they sell out. But then the people in general, right, who make the most money, whether it's in stocks or real estate or crypto, right, they don't get scared. They do the research and then they say, this is a bet I'm willing to take because the risk versus the reward. The risk is that it goes to zero, but the reward is so much higher if it pans out than if I wait and then the risk isn't as high, right? Those returns just aren't there. So unless you have significant, people who are like, okay, I'm going to throw $10 million into crypto. Those people can afford to buy the Solanas when it's not so risky. Like that's what they want, right? A 30% return on $10 million is a significant amount of money. That's $3 million, right? But for a lot of people who are in crypto, they're spending like 100 grand or less. I would say that the large majority of people in crypto right now are spending 100 grand or less. And so like 30% on 100 grand or less is not life-changing money for people, right? And so they are looking for those greater returns. And that's what this channel is about. It's just talking about the tokens that we're excited about that are boring or people aren't talking about, but the risk versus reward is substantially higher than a lot of these other tokens.
Yeah, and if somebody learned the lesson of buying OMI at 1.4 cents, like that is a lesson almost everybody learns, and you're smart if you only have to learn it once. That's part of the journey of becoming a savage crypto investor, a savage investor in anything, is usually when you're brand new, you buy when everyone tells you it's safe, and it's not safe then. And you can look around and displace the blame on the company that you bought their thing. And it's all their fault. And the truth is, it's not their fault. It's your fault. And until you take 100% ownership of it, you will not become better at this. So a lot of people continue to displace the blame to other places. Oh, it's Crypto Rain's fault. But I know it wasn't my fault. I was covering VeVe collectibles. And I said, even at 0.25 cents, I was like, it's gone up a whole bunch. I'm concerned at this price. Look at the VeVe collectibles. Todd McFarlane Batman selling at 80 gems, and it hasn't caught traction yet. In fact, they're just available on it. I like this because it hasn't gone up, whereas the token has already gone up several hundred X at this price. I'm like, yeah, I'm not buying OMI till I see it retrace a bunch after it hits some highs. So, like, sure, but even people say, oh, it's your fault, whatever. It's the person who pulls the trigger to buy and sell is ultimately the only one whose fault it ever is. And until they take ownership of that, they'll never become better, because anytime it goes bad for them, they want to displace the blame to someone else. And what they're failing to do is learn a lesson, because guess what they did? They bought high and sold low. Whose fault is that? Did OMI make them buy high? Did VeVe make them buy high? Who made them buy high? They pulled the trigger. They made that decision. If they're just displacing their ownership, they'll never become good at this game. Guess what I did when I came into crypto in 2017? Well, I bought high, hoping it'd go higher, and it did. And then it reversed. And I didn't sell before it reversed below my price. In fact, I didn't end up selling at all. I put about 15,000 in, which went to 165, maybe even 175,000. And then it went to 3,000. And whose fault was that? Mine. And because I took full ownership of that, I got to learn the lesson from that. And you know what I realized? Well, shoot, it's completely reversed, and now everything is cheap. I like buying when it's cheap. So I'm going to research the heck out of it and figure this crypto thing out, and I'm going to buy while everything's cheap. You know what? For the next 3 years, I bought while everything was cheap, and then it went expensive again. And it was not buy more time, it was sell. So cool. Like, you know, there are some people that are still frustrated, Wes, because they're displacing the ownership onto someone else rather than, oh my gosh, what lessons did I learn from this? If they're really smart, they're like, man, I'm glad OMI's down so much so I can dollar cost average in at prices that I never thought it would hit. But guess what? A lot of people aren't going to take that approach. Why? Because a lot of people are not going to become good at this because they're not willing to learn the lessons. And that's just what it is. And share with people what lessons that they can learn so they can become good at this. Some people will really change their life with those lessons, and a whole bunch of people won't, and it's okay.
So I like Dead Rabbits here because he was the one who said that he lost 6 figures on OMI. And really what because then he said, no, I bought it at 1 cent and dollar cost average down. Haven't sold one, but I do regret trading a Bitcoin for it. I get that, man. Like there's some regrets that I have. Like one of the stories that like I'll hold on to forever, right? Is I was looking at buying 3 Bored Ape yacht clubs at mint price or 3 Apimon eggs. Now I say Apimon eggs, and I guarantee you 99.9% of you guys have never even heard of that project, but it actually had significant hype around that time. I don't know if you guys know, what's their names? There's these 2 major NFT influencers. I'm blanking on them. It'll come to me in a second. But they had bought, each of them had bought probably about 150 of these Apimon eggs at a 0.08 ETH price when ETH was at about 4K, right? Like they threw some significant money in that. And that was one of the reasons that I was like, oof, like that. I feel like this could be big. And what happened is their contract got hacked. So what the whole thing was, these Apimon eggs, the eggs themselves looked super awesome. And there's all these different rarities of the eggs. And then inside the eggs were these monsters, right? And these monsters were going to be part of a video game that they were going to be making. But on top of that, because these eggs were a vault, and one of the technologies that they were doing at the time, which was really cool, is you could put several NFTs into this egg and then send the egg in one transaction and save all of these transaction fees, right? So it's kind of like the first bundling. So there was all of these things that they were doing that were phenomenal, right? And I did this. And so I was like, listen, man, like all of these NFT influencers have bought like a ton. I'm not going to buy any Bored Apes. I'm going to buy 3 Apimon eggs. And then the contract got hacked. And what these hackers were able to do is basically, and this happened with 2 other projects. I think it happened with Meebits. Like where they were able to basically mint the egg and see what was in the egg without completing the full transaction. And so if it didn't have anything good in it, because there was a CryptoPunk in one of the eggs, and CryptoPunks at the time were worth a significant amount of money, like 6 figures. And there was some Bored Apes, like they'd done a lot of collaboration. So it wasn't just some random project that I'd done, right? I'd done research on it and everything. And then the contract got hacked because the freaking people who did it like just didn't get audited the contract well enough. And they got hacked and the project went to zero. But you know who didn't get hurt was those people those NFT influencers. They got all their money back. I didn't, right? And but so like these are lessons learned, right? Like, and I don't blame the contract people. Like whatever, I did this, and it was the decision I made. It was the wrong one. And now I'm like, listen, I like diversification. So like that's a big thing for me. If I'd even diversified and just bought one Bored Ape, right? Like, and then two of those, like things would have gone a lot better for me. And that's just part of it. So with Omi, like I do have Omi. I have a lot of Omi. But I'm diversified into a lot of other projects because that way there's not this emotional attachment to Omi has to succeed for everything to be okay. Right? Like I've got all of these other projects and I like Omi. I have a good, strong bet in Omi, but it might not pan out. And that's okay. I've got all of these other projects. And at the end of the day, all of those might not pan out. And I've not put any money that I can't afford to lose. If it all goes to zero, it goes to zero. Right. And I think that's like the biggest thing. And one of the smartest things that anyone could do is if they're putting in money that they can't afford to lose, the emotion is tied to that. And they will almost always wreck themselves.
Yeah, it's true. I like that some of you are putting in there like true concerns or risks. Share this from Bitcoin BMW. How long does VeVe have the Disney licenses for? Do you have any idea if they renewed the Disney license? What happens to VeVe if Disney doesn't renew them? Fantastic freaking question, Bitcoin BMW. This is the kind of stuff. This is the real analysis. Mm-hmm. Because is this a risk? Well, it could be, absolutely, because the Disney license is a big part of it. Disney and Marvel, I mean, all owned by Disney. So how long do they have it for? Can I suggest something that like we don't know, especially on the Disney side? But it seems like Marvel giving all the Marvel comics over to VeVe was a really big bet and a big show of like trust there. So I imagine at least on the Marvel side, they're probably pretty secure. But I don't have the connections to know directly. I mean, Randy sometimes talks to David. What's your feeling on this?
This wasn't something that David had said. This is something that one of the Marvel guys had said in, I think, 2023, when they went and I just asked, like, hey, what are we, I see other companies out there like that were under the Disney umbrella that had stuff from Disney that they were able to sell. I was like, is there any chance we get to see some Marvel stuff out there that we can collect outside? And they're like, no, they have an exclusive contract with VeVe. There are no other types of Marvel stuff that can go outside of VeVe, meaning like on other blockchains and stuff. I know Disney has like Disney Pinnacle, and they have there's one thing on Cryptoys that they have on there as well. But for Marvel, that is 100% locked up. So just like you have that with Century 21 Fox Studios, you have that with Marvel, like all of these different companies, just because they have like Disney, a form of Disney, they have different contracts signed for every company that's underneath it. So it's like, for me, it's impossible to say which one has what and how long for. You could have a couple of brands of like there's Disney like theme parks, there's Disney posters, and they could all have different agreements. One could just be for 1 year, a couple could be expired already, a couple could be for like 10 years. But for that, I would say Disney knows where its bread is buttered, and look at all of the other places that kind of tried to do it. I think Disney Pinnacle is actually making a little bit of money, so fair point to them. But everywhere else that other places have tried, they've all, for the most part, just failed. So Disney could rescind the license, and they could try to make something on their own. Do they have the expertise to try to do that? And even if they could, do they want to? Probably not. Also, at the same time, I'll say that the VeVe comics, one, you have Aliens vs. Avengers #3 coming out at 3 a.m. tonight. Can't wait for that.
Oh, I'm glad that you said that, man. I got to get that. Yeah.
And but yeah, if also, could you bring up Dan O's comment about the app being polished?
Wait, can I? I'm going to touch.
I wanted to hit Jem's comment first,
okay,
and then go down to Dan O's.
Let me just jump onto this though. So just in general, right? These contracts, what you'll typically see in the space, right, is like a 3 to 5 year contract where they say, "Hey, you're going to have the rights to this." Or, with our business, we're going to do this for 3 years, and then it can renew, every year, as long as no one cancels it. But I would guess, and this is just speculation on my point, with Marvel, I had heard the term, like I had heard that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Randy, but like my understanding is that VeVe had signed like an 8-year contract with Marvel. Right?
Yeah,
like,
but in 2023 it was 8 years, so now it's 20. So it's 6 years now. So it's I might have missed years. Yeah, but yeah.
Now, but that being said, though, when they did the Marvel comic release, I would imagine that they actually re-upped that contract and said, "Hey, we're going to throw in some more stuff with the Marvel comics, right? And this is what we're going to push out there." So, you see that a lot. That might not be the case, but a lot of times that's the case. Now, that's Marvel, which is a subsidiary of Disney, right? And you would think that Disney is pretty pleased with the revenues that they are getting there. And as long as things are working out there, there's no reason to cancel that, and there's a lot of reasons to extend it. So that's where I'm at right now, right? But like, that is a possibility, and I think it's so important to ask questions like that of, what's the probability of this happening? Do we know when these expire, and have they been renewed? And that's all I know so far. But that is something that if I caught wind, right, that Disney wasn't going to renew, my question would be why, right? If they've been making money, what do they see that we don't see? And that would be a big red flag for me.
Great question. I like this type of analysis a lot. So let's go down to Dano's comment.
So Dano says, "I'm more concerned with VeVe as a product itself. I hope they can continue to improve, and soon, because as it is now, the truth is that the app simply isn't polished enough to retain most new users." Fake news. In 2021, the app was horrendous. You had a drop every 2 weeks. The marketplace could not be open while the drop was happening. And while the drop was happening, most people were kicked off. The app was not good to use. The app was not it was not functioning properly for a long time. Spaghetti code. And why were hundreds of thousands of people on it? Because you can make money. There's a scene in SpongeBob where this one guy is going into the Krusty Krab, and he's like starving. He's on his hands and knees crawling in, and then he's like, "What is this? What is this dang place? I need culture. I need atmosphere." And then he crawls out of the restaurant. Nobody is going to come into this app if they could pay $7 for a comic, and then they guarantee themselves at least $10, nobody's going to care what the app looks like. No one's going to care what the colors look like. No one's going to people in 2021 did not even care how the app functioned. Like, did they care a little bit enough to complain? Absolutely. Were they still on it every single day trying to get those drops? Also, absolutely. People will not care how the app functions, or at least they will care more about the money that they can make when it gets fun again. And it gets fun again when people start making money. Is it possible that it never gets back there? Sure. But again, you have those two scenarios. I think when they drop Yoda, that'll probably go nuts. My opinion.
Randy's right on that, in that when the crypto market goes crazy again, and this happens every 4 years, and I know it feels like, oh my gosh, it's not going to happen this time. It is going to happen. When it does, it's going to be really big. And the digital collectibles narrative is going to hit. It's the next evolution of collecting. As everyone's focusing on the world going digital, of course they're going to focus as well at some point during that digitals are going collectible. It'll be this big epiphany that everyone has. Oh my gosh, of course collectibles are going digital. I knew it was going to happen. Yet they weren't investing in Omi when it was this cheap, but they'll be making all these videos on how of course it was going to happen. Why? Because that's what and everyone will be searching for and want to hear about, and they'll be like, yeah, you could see this coming, and look at the people who bought Omi way back here, how lucky they are. Like, F you. There's no luck about it. Like, it's being a savage, being able to buy when things are down so much, and seeing the vision that of course collectibles are going to go digital. So it is going to happen. I wanted to, there's a comment here we missed from Jason saying, I wish Disney would start talking about VeVe, get some hype going for this VeVe-verse. We've been kicking a dead horse on speculating, need some new blood to keep the positive vibes moving. What do you think, Doc?
I mean, I used to think the same way. I used to say, why isn't Disney talking about VeVe? And what I've kind of realized is VeVe is like a marketplace for their stuff. Now, it's the only marketplace where they have digital. Well, it's not anymore, right? It used to be the only marketplace where they had their digital collectibles, right? But now they got Disney pins on Flow, right? And I guess where I go with is like Disney doesn't tweet out like, go check out our stuffed Minnie Mouses and Mickey Mouses at Target. Like they don't do that, right? And so I kind of have gone away from thinking that Disney is going to do that. Now they did do a promotion. With the Disney Golden Moments when they first launched, right? Like there's a whole thing where if you landed the partner statue, you got Disney Plus for a year, and it was part of this whole promotion. So they might, in tandem with like a Phygital or something, or if they're doing some big release, that could happen again, and they could get more exposure that way. So it's not impossible, but I would say like that's probably not the case. I think where you're going to start getting more exposure is when these companies have created their own digital collectibles, not Disney, but like an Amazon or an Apple, or like as they start talking about digital collectibles, right? And as we start hearing that more actually from the new administration, NFTs or digital collectibles, that type of stuff, that as it becomes more mainstream to talk about, people are going to say like, oh, are there Star Wars digital collectibles? Because I love Star Wars, and maybe now I feel comfortable looking this up because everyone is talking about it, right? And so that's where we're going to start to get users. Now, I do think it's important, right? And I am very interested as to what's happened in the affiliate program. I had to talk with like the affiliate program manager, right? And he said that I could say that, and it was awesome, super awesome. So something's happening in the background. I don't think that that's gone away, but I think that they are waiting for the right time. And when that is, like, I don't know, but like, I think that VeVe in general, to me, with digital collectibles, is what's going to be called, an overnight success, 6 years, 7 years in the making, right? Where it's been around for a while and just people didn't know about it. And then all of a sudden it's going to be a big deal and everyone's going to be like, oh my gosh, it's this overnight success. And it's like, No, they've been here building for years, you know, through all the thick and thin. But that's when the digital collectibles narrative hits. And I can't say when that's at, but that's why I buy both. I buy VeVe collectibles that I like. And then there's ones that I think like, hey, if digital collectibles become a thing, I think that these could do very, very well. And then I have the OMI token because, believe it or not, and there's a lot of people who sit there and say that they're not building utility out for this token, but it's going to happen, and it is happening. You can already buy certain collectibles with OMI on Stacker, and I truly believe that we will be able to buy all of, if like 99% of the collectibles, if not 100% of all the collectibles at some point this year with OMI.
There's a that's why I think Marvel comes out first. I don't know if I think they'll do it the same way that they did in 2021. They'll put out Marvel stuff, and then a few months later they put out Disney stuff. I think it'll be the same way with Stacker. It makes sense. Marvel lets them do anything. But when you go on and talk about, oh God, I just lost my train of thought. A new thought popped into my head. It's gone now. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, Planet Vampire had this. I just wanted to highlight because this is one of the keys to success right here. I still buy OMI, but now have diversified with new money. Helps me keep my sanity too. It's so true. When you only have everything on one crypto token or one thing, it makes it impossible, almost impossible. It's not actually impossible. It will feel impossible though to be patient. And it's why it's important to be diversified across a few different narratives, because then otherwise it'll feel like everyone's bag is pumping but yours. And you'll be so tempted to sell when what you have is like savaged and cheap into something that's already been running. You won't likely be able to withhold or withstand it. But if you're diversified across a number of different narratives, then it's so much easier to be patient because possibly something else you have is up. And also put you in a good position that if it's way up, it might even be a good time to diversify out some of your position of that into something you believe in that's price is still punished because its narrative hasn't hit. But you can't have that patience if you're not diversified to some level. So that's why when, you know, we have a friend that came into VeVe and OMI like 2 years ago and he bought hundreds of millions of OMI. And Dr. Asaf and I were like, you're like 90% allocated into OMI. You might rethink that. No, I'm good. But then later he like diversified almost 100% out of it, like because he was so heavy in OMI and he just had no ability to be patient. And still the greater bull market isn't even here yet. Like, but when you're 100% allocated in something, you have no ability to be patient or very little ability to be patient and wait for it to just play out. And that's where most people go wrong is it takes longer than they think it's going to take. And they end up like notwithstanding the pressure because it feels like nothing is ever going to happen. And then it does. I've been at this for 8 years now, since 2017. It will turn around and things will go crazy like you've never even seen if you haven't been through a bull market that you've been prepared for before. Because when you're prepared for it and you're around in the bear market that preceded it and you made some allocations into stuff, it's going to change you. It'll be fun to watch.
I think the affiliate marketing has actually already started. And what I mean by that, obviously they're taking meetings, obviously they're doing whatever, and they've been doing that for a while. But all of these spaces that go on every night are sponsored by VeVe. And I remember a few months ago, I think it was My Collectible. So whoever was running the VeVe Twitter account at that time was like, hey, we'd like to do a giveaway. I was like, okay. So I just happened to write like a tweet out. And I was like, hey, sponsored by VeVe. And they had messaged me back specifically saying like, hey, you just can't say that it's sponsored by VeVe. And I think the reason why they said that was, it might be one of two reasons, but the most likely reason is that if it says sponsored, that means like we like paid for it. Now I'm just assuming that because Emoji, Magic, Amili, all these guys, like they specifically put in their title, these spaces are sponsored by VeVe. Are they getting paid in gems? Are they getting paid in crypto? Are they getting paid in actual cash? I have no idea. I'd like for it to be actual cash, because I think that's what they did with the moderators back in the day. The moderators, they would build up enough points, they get a collectible, and it's like, okay, well, we buy that collectible from the store, with gems, so it's not like we're just giving it away. Like, okay, but the VeVe fam, like the actual customers, they're the ones, like, how do you get those gems? They don't just pop out of thin air. Like, we're the ones that are giving you those gems, so we're the ones that are paying the mods. I feel like the same way is happening in the in the spaces right now, and it might not be. I hope that if they come and they say, hey Randy, we're just going to pay you in gems, I'm probably not going to do it, because that's just taken from the community, where that could just be going to the VeVe thing by themselves. But at the end of the day, it does seem like they've started with the spaces, and they might do YouTube next, they might do Twitter lives next, whatever it is. So I think that we're slowly seeing these baby steps going into where the affiliate marketing will roll out.
So, well, this is interesting. So Big A says our drop stream is VeVe sponsored every week. Not sure if I can disclose compensation though. So this is very important, right? Semantics. It's funny because a lot of times people are like, oh, it's just semantics. Semantics is actually very important, right? Because like words have meaning, right? And so, if you were not paid by VeVe, right? If VeVe was just doing a giveaway on your channel, then the giveaway was sponsored by VeVe. Your channel or the show was not sponsored by VeVe, right? That's an important distinction. Now, if you are getting compensated, right, to talk about VeVe, whether it's hosting Twitter Spaces or you're doing a YouTube video or live, and you are and VeVe is paying you in some way, shape, or form, even if it's collectibles, right? If you are getting compensated, you yourself as the content creator are getting paid in some way, shape, or form, then it would be, yes, you would actually you should be disclosing that and saying that like this video is sponsored that way, as opposed to VeVe is sponsoring a giveaway, right? They're not sponsoring your channel. But if the content creator is getting paid, and I say that because that's when the FCC can come after you, and they went after Kim Kardashian, which is crazy because Kim Kardashian did disclose, right, like on her tweet, that she was, it was like a paid advertisement, but it wasn't even disclosed well enough, and they hit her with a big fine, So I agree. If they're saying sponsored by VeVe, this space is sponsored by VeVe, as opposed to like this space, like the giveaway is sponsored by VeVe, then I would assume, and we should all be able to assume, that they are getting paid or compensated in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and even Big A had said that he can't go over compensation. So there is some form of compensation being given.
Yeah,
again,
and he
assuming
says
it's gems.
Streams. He says it streams, not the channel. So like that stream is sponsored, not the channel is being sponsored, and that is different. It depends on the contract, right? Like, because that's sometimes where it's just like, I mean, when I worked with Crypto Rain, like there would be projects that would just say like, hey, we want to be a sponsor for a month or 3 months or something like that, right? And we would list like these are the sponsors of the channel, right? And each stream we would like throw in some sort of conversation or talk about that project and why we allow, like, why Rain decided at the end of the day to choose them, allow them to be a sponsor of the channel. So it looks like it's happening.
So and that's
no more Omi is my homie show until we're officially sponsored by Akomi. Sorry.
Yeah,
we're out.
The last one, ladies and gentlemen.
Done.
Sorry,
Foster, if you're watching,
we're just gonna sit back and watch our investments do well, and we're gonna stop talking about it.
Yeah.
So I do actually, I think I know why none of mine have ever been sponsored. I'm very much a derelict. I drink on stream. I do a lot of other stuff on stream. So this is a lesson for you new content creators out there. If you would like to get compensated by VeVe, do not do anything that I do. It doesn't matter that pulling the biggest numbers. If you act a fool, and tomfoolery is about there, that comes at a cost.
You know what though, Randy? Let's be clear about some things though. You might not get sponsored by VeVe in that way. However, because of your channel and what you've done, you talk to David and like you have connections that a lot of these other YouTubers do not have, right? So, I mean, yes, maybe you're not getting the money, but like connections to me are way more valuable, right? So there's that.
I
way
wish
more valuable.
Yeah. I wish that there was a way to, and I've gone over it like on the other stuff like before, like, hey, yeah, like, and I think Rain's even gone over it before. It's like, what do we make from YouTube? Like a couple $100 a month from YouTube, like super small amounts. But what happens is that, because again, a lot of people like network with high net worth individuals, and we'll have people from these companies on, and like, so the other day when Bumper, somebody offloaded like $30,000, $40,000 over on MEXC, and then the website wasn't working, and all these things. It looked like Bumper was dead. Everyone was on my stream like, is Bumper dead? I found this liquidation status thing, and I had immediately gone to, I feel like that episode of Gilmore Girls where Laura, like the Dragonfly Inn has a fire, and then everyone's asking Lorelai how's she doing. She's like, I'm really proud of the way that I handled it. I'm really proud of the way that I immediately went to Jonathan and Bumper and said, like, hey, what do you need? How much funds do you need to save Bumper? Let's see what we can do. And if I wasn't able to do that for Bumper, that I don't really have a lot of money in, I know that I would automatically give my life, give my social life, my job, my mind, my everything to VeVe if that were ever the case. But again, like in those scenarios, that's the real value. Is like YouTube is one thing. It's nothing, but the value of connecting those people together is almost invaluable. I mean, you can put a price on it based on the deals that are done, but you also get friends that way too, and really, really good friends.
The ability to see the inner workings of the company behind the scenes gives you a better gauge on the health of the company than what you can see. I mean, this is part of the reason I started my crypto channel. I specifically went the route of poverty. The route of poverty is this, like covering stuff when, like I was trying to explain in that comment, covering stuff that is undervalued, that's being punished. Like it doesn't lead to a really big channel. It doesn't. When you're covering OMI at this price, guess what? Nobody is searching for OMI at these prices. Why? Because it's done nothing but go down. Now there might be a few people that are smart that's like undervalued altcoin gems, and perhaps they find that video. But the truth is, people aren't searching for videos on a token when they're really cheap. They're searching for videos on a token when it's really expensive. So if I wanted to grow a really big YouTube channel, I'd cover what is really expensive right now. Like 3 weeks ago, I would have been covering Trump coin endlessly, and then Melania coin or whatever. I guess it was like 5 weeks ago or whatever. Would have been covering it, and then like, oh yeah, whatever the new thing is, and you'll grow a big YouTube channel like that. But your audience will get wrecked. And what does it really help you other than YouTube revenues go way up? As an investor, how does it really help you? Are you going to be buying Trump like already when it's like $27? You'd be crazy to be buying it when it's already so high. And oh yeah, it went to $70, but then it came right down to $27. Like it doesn't help you. So the route I chose was to continue to do what I had seen make people millionaires in crypto, which is buy low and sell high. Well, buy low, you have to be able to assess the health, or as best as you can assess the health of the company when it's low. And a YouTube channel helps give you access sometimes to those companies and to have them on and do interviews. And if you get to know them well, sometimes you end up with a direct link to them. I know I sold my Axie Infinity at 100x gains when Axie, most people don't realize, there were 2 points that Axie Infinity looked like it was going to fail. And my investment in Axie Infinity was going to be dead. And it reminded me of what was going on with Bumper the other day. And I had to be like, potentially Bumper's dead. Oh, well, it reminds me of what happened to Axie Infinity. Now, Axie Infinity ended up being a massive gainer for me, but I sold it 100x. Now, had I had connections to the company, I would have been able to sell much later because there would have been some information I could have known. And it wasn't publicly known information, but it wasn't information the team couldn't disclose. It just wasn't publicly known unless you knew the team and had access to them. So had I had a crypto channel back then that had some followers and had I had a connection to them, I would have known to just delay the sale of that longer. And what made me $400,000 would have made me a couple million. So being able to have a gauge on the underlying team can have profound effects. And not only for the YouTuber themselves, but for their audience, if they are trying to sell to the health of companies that have been massively punished, that in assessing what are their survival chances, because that is buying low And then later when it's going crazy, assessing, okay, how are things going? Is it, is it near a peak or what is it, so that you can sell high? So there's value to the audience, there's value to the YouTuber, but doesn't pay a lot from YouTube. And you may not even have a lot of sponsorships. That's okay, because the revenue you make on sponsorships pales in comparison to the revenue you make from being a savage investor. Unfortunately, most YouTubers that cover crypto, they are not savage investors. Most of the big channels, they make 90 to 98% of their income from their YouTube revenues and sponsor revenues and other revenues related to that. And they don't make very much from their investments.
Preach.
Other than they dollar cost average because their revenues are so high from YouTube, and they put some in stuff. And they tend to go for safer bets, like a bunch of them, right, have been loading up on Solana at $280. It's like, will they make money on it? Yeah. I mean, they'll probably go to $1,000 in the bull run. Will they make very much from it? No, negligible. So some other comments we didn't get to, like Jem had a follow-up questions. We were talking about the health of the company. Is there a new OMI roadmap? What is supposed to happen short term that makes us bullish?
So I'll jump on that. My understanding is that the outcome of the Gadenzi lawsuit is supposed to be like a decision is supposed to be made in a couple weeks, right? And so I think that will give some clarity. Just to have that lawsuit behind him. And I don't know if companies get skittish. Some companies may, just with like major lawsuits on things, right? And so to have that outcome completely done with, that will be good. Short term though, I do think so. Like President Trump, like all of these regulatory agencies, there's a mandate where they're coming up, like that they have to start putting into place clear and concise regulations, right, around crypto and how they're going to handle and treat crypto. So you've got like man, there's so many acronyms. I mean, the SEC, but then the Commodity Futures and CFTC. I was getting that confused with the CFPB. CFTC, right? Where they're going to start labeling what are commodities and what are securities, right? And defining that a lot more clearly, so that then platforms and programs or projects can sit there and be like, okay, if we structure it this way, it's going to be considered a commodity and not a security, and the disclosures are a lot less. There's a lot less red tape and all this stuff to deal with there. I think that regulatory clarity, then OMI can go and assess, or Ecomi can go and assess and be like, okay, like where do we fit into this, and how concerned are we with all of this? Once that clarity happens, I think you're going to see a lot more projects be able to talk a lot more openly. And I say a lot more projects, the projects that have been conservative to this point because of the concern of the regulators coming after them. Because once that's out there, then they can point to the regulation and be like, you can't touch us. We're not worried about that anymore. And that's coming, right? Like, I think that we're going to start seeing that middle of this year, right? So I guess when you're saying short term, I don't know how short term, but like, I still think like, I think that we are in a bull run, but the bull run has been stifled by some things. And what I think that's happening is that it's going to prolong it, right? And then the actual euphoria that will some point, like that hits, or at least has hit in all previous bull runs, is pushed out, right? Which gives like all of these projects a lot more time to understand the playing field that they are on, and how to operate in the space and be compliant. And I think that's going to be huge. So that's some bullish news. I do also think that OMI to NFT, this is my speculation, but like, I think that I would be shocked, man, if in the next couple months we do not get OMI to NFT for a lot more of the IPs. To me, that's bullish. I am waiting. I do have a lot of OMI. And honestly, if I can get some stellar deals on some of these pieces that are Disney or Marvel or some of the comics and stuff, because people want more OMI, like I would just buy OMI on base and then port it over there, as opposed to buy gems on VeVe and do it that way. If I can get a discount using OMI, I'm absolutely going to be doing that. So I think that's coming, and this is just me, relatively soon.
I'm not buying any more OMI. I'm not buying any more VeVe collectibles till I see they have a better roadmap. I'm kidding on that. Look, it's cool to look deeper for these things, but what really causes the token to go crazy isn't them getting everything fine-tuned and in order. It's the massive tsunami of new interest and new money coming in this space that's going to come regardless if VeVe and Omi does another single thing. And all they have to do is be somewhat decent position, and the tsunami takes you and your surfboard like crazy. And so they're doing a lot of the right steps, which will help them get even further when that happens. But it's the tsunami that you're waiting for. In the meantime, it's kind of like people surfing the little waves, and it's really frustrating. It's like, oh, yeah, surfing these waves, and I got farther, and then I had to, and it's just frustrating. And it's like, and you're just trying to catch some traction and to feel like you're getting ahead. Then the tsunami comes, and it carries you way the hell forward if you're just somewhat well positioned. And it's the tsunami that you're waiting for. I often talk about the rains coming, and that's what we're waiting for, and it hasn't happened yet. You haven't seen it yet. You haven't experienced it yet. It will come, and it will include the digital collectibles narrative. And Omi will go crazy. Flow will go crazy. Your VeVe collectibles will likely go crazy, though some more than others. Some might not do much at all, and it's hard to tell which of those will do really good. Speaking of that, Pink Panther asks, when Randy NFT on VeVe? Well, I'm definitely out on VeVe stuff until there's a Randy NFT.
That should be part of their roadmap. No, the roadmaps are great. I remember when Brockman Blockchain put out a roadmap for Fish, and he completed it in like a month. And, like he's got one of the greatest IPs, the greatest projects out there. I don't know any other project that gives more to their people, to the holders than he does. And doing well on VeVe, but that's such a great thing. And I think he sold out maybe like a third of his supply over the last X amount of years. Then you have stuff that just there's like nothing, but it catches fire for whatever reason, and it goes crazy. Obviously VeVe's big enough name where again, people will come here eventually. I don't think they're going to come for Randy NFTs. A few probably will. There's a few people in other meme coin communities that I know that totally do that. I don't know if there's. I don't think I would want to. Like, I know Epiko has been doing a great job with getting David NFTs on there, and now you have actually some of the team that aren't the owners, like the other team, like you have VeVe Magic, you have Corey and My Collectibles, which is great. It's a lot of fun. Shows some appreciation. However, you only get one first appearance. If I'm going to do a Randy collectible, I might do it if the comic that I'm writing does really well, which it should sell out. I would rather have my first appearance be in cat form, because I'm a cat on the cat world. And that's what I would rather it be. I know people are really wanting the Dashi, and maybe we could. I haven't written Dashi in that story. Maybe I will. I don't know. Maybe I'll have like a
that, man.
meow.
Maybe I'll have Dashi as like a dog combatant, and then there's no magic in this world, but maybe someone will like put on like a spell, and Dashi will turn to stone, and then that's how Randy gets Dashi. I don't know. But yeah, maybe
that makes perfect sense. If you've ever talked to Randy on the phone, the conversation starts with meow from him and ends with meow. So like, cat is perfect.
Yeah.
That is funny.
Narujin says, like the dawn after the darkest night, Omi will not just recover, it will rise stronger, brighter, and unstoppable. Omi to the moon. And guess what? 98% of the crypto space would say you're crazy right now. And I like the odds quite well. And I don't care what they think. The truth is most people have not made significant money in crypto. And some of the ones that made significant money, they're just playing in a different ball game, in that they're investing like 50 billion and they're putting it into large caps. What I call significant money is people starting with average everyday incomes and becoming multimillionaires through crypto. And that doesn't happen through the large caps. That happens through small caps. And so you're playing with risk and reward. And the only way to stack the odds in your favor is, number one, waiting till a project's price is severely punished But then number two, doing research to evaluate, is this company likely to survive and what are those odds? And then taking smart bets.
Pretty much. Yeah. Agreed.
Now, VeVe Ben has good thought here. Seems like VeVe is dropping so many cars. Thoughts on the drivability in the VeVe verse? I don't have any information on that. Randy, Doc, what do
Have
you
you
think?
guys
Drivable?
have you guys seen not VeVe Meister, Roth Metaverse Life's most recent VeVeverse beta testing?
I haven't seen that one.
Okay, so first off, it's amazing. Let's see if I can find some of the screenshots that I can show here, because I screenshot everything. There's roads, like in most of the VeVeverse showcases. There's roads there, and I feel like there's no reason to have roads unless you have cars that are able to drive on those roads. Now, that being said, they have, let me make sure okay, I'm swipe the right way. Don't need y'all seeing other stuff there. You see the cars that we have there, the VeVe Gold logo on, and then you also see some stuff in the background. There's a little, what is that in the background? I don't know. Is that a city? You see even like another building when you're inside the diner across the street from where you were standing. And then moving forward, you see a little teeny tiny city past where they have their little city. You see even more of it on this angle. You see a flag at half mast for whatever reason. You see, so this type of architecture, these types of buildings, and are those ships? I mean, we have certainly a bunch of aircraft on here, whether it's the X-wing, whether we have TIE fighters, Vader stuff, and then when you're in the seat of the Aston Martin here. Now, these might just be dark clouds that are mixed in with maybe there's smudges on the window. I don't know why an Aston Martin would have smudges on the window, unless maybe they went through like a race and they had the windshield wipers or whatever. Or maybe these little, or maybe these little black smudges are unrendered roads in a greater world, the greater world that you might see from the VeVeverse. I feel like some of these buildings might be interoperable with Disney's Epic metaverse that they had that they had teased last year. They had that like 40-second trailer with Epic Games, and I just see a couple of these things that look similar. Now, obviously, that might just be a world that you can't get to unless you have certain thing like that. That might not be a world that you can get to from where you are in the VeVeverse, but it's there, and maybe there's like a portal to get there. I don't know. This is pure speculation, but it seems that it might all be connected. I don't see how Cavernous is building the VeVeverse and also helping build the Epic Games if they're not going to be interoperable, in my opinion. So yeah, cars. I got my cars.
I like so that's a long way of saying you believe that there will be drivable cars in the VeVeverse at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's
Randy always gives the short, abbreviated answer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sorry.
I don't know if they're going to be drivable immediately. I don't think that they are, and that's just me. So, but Randy makes some good points. Says like, why would they have roads if they're not drivable now? So that's like, I don't think that they are, but they absolutely might be. And Randy makes some good points as to why they might be.
Yeah, I think in the short term, no. The complexity is high. Down the road, like VeVe is going to continue to evolve. Like even the app continues to evolve and become better. So what the VeVe app looks like 10 years from now is going to be totally different than what it is now. What the VeVeverse looks like 10 years from now can be very different from what it is now. So do they make it retroactive that at some point the vehicles can be drivable? I would think that they would. That's my guess.
Yeah.
So Jasper Frank asked a really good question here. Not to be a fudder, but I've been watching for a few years, and your price prediction for Omi have always been wrong. What's the reason? Timing or fundamentals are wrong? Great question. I'll address that. Look, actual price analysis on where the price is going to be is like a shot in the dark. you're looking at probabilities. But generally, here's the way I've learned to play it, because what I've seen people that actually try to buy crypto and trade like day to day is almost none of them make money over long term. And the few that do make money over long term, they could have made way more money had they generally bought under these principles of finding solid companies that were out of the narrative and their prices punished like crazy, and then just holding till everybody is talking about that project. That's what I do. And I've seen that just work the best. I know many multimillionaires. That's exactly how they did it. And one of them, I swear, his IQ is under 100. It is so hard to have a conversation with him. But he understood that. Like, he just understood that in the 2018, 2019 bear market. He was just dollar cost averaging into projects that their price had been punished, and using research to guess which might be surviving, and like listening to interviews with the founders. And I was like, man, if this works for him, it can work for anyone. And it can work for anyone that has the patience to do it. But it is that simple of buying when it's like, oh my gosh, this project is never going to survive. And then using research to be like, okay, what are the real odds that this fails? And having to be somewhat smart of like, you have to be able to go against the grain, because look, if you just listen to, Paul Barron announced 18 months ago that OMI was dead, VeVe is dead, whatever. He's just wrong on that. It's not even close to being dead. And it's got high probability for survival. So you have to be able to disregard what somebody with a large YouTube following has said for whatever reason. He's since endorsed a whole bunch of projects that then died. It's like being able to go against what Paul Barron thinks. And it's like, well, Paul Barron is rich. And it's like, number one, we don't know that. Number two, we don't even know that he's a good investor. We know that he produces a really high quality channel that probably has significant YouTube revenues and sponsor revenues. That we could guess, but I don't know if he's a good investor. And he's dead wrong on OMI 18 months ago. And yet it seems like maybe he is right, because OMI's gone down even cheaper. But that time frame when everybody is then talking about crypto is not hit yet. So the race is not even close to over. And when it is, everyone's talking about crypto, and crypto is the big thing. Guess what cycles into that? Digital collectibles and the digital collectibles narrative. And that's the point when everyone starts talking about OMI and Marvel Comics being on the VeVe app, and all these collectibles being on the VeVe app, and they have a token associated with it. So this race isn't over yet. And when it is, like, OMI will be doing really well. But as far as picking price targets in the meantime, it's just a total shot in the dark, because I don't know when that point is going to be that everyone's talking about digital collectibles. I just know the likelihood that that happens is really, really high, and I'm playing that probability. So, and even when we've made price predictions, I like say it like, I don't know what it's going to be. This is a total shot in the dark. But like, even those that are really good at price analysis, their chance of being right are like 1%. Like, if they're to say, okay, January, it's now February of this year, and by January of next year, it's going to be at this price. That is a total guess. Like, you probably won't even get Paul, who joins me, who's an expert in price analysis. You probably won't even get him to make any kind of price prediction like that, because the probabilities are just so bad that he would be right on that, even with as good as he is.
Yeah, look, I think that I was a bit naive early on throwing out price predictions. And I would throw out price predictions based on what I thought was coming, right? I did think like early on that we were like that the NFT burn, only the NFTs were going to happen with all of the collectibles, and that there would have been substantial burns. And I think, right, if 2.5 years ago that they really had implemented the only the NFT, and we had all of those NFTs out there, I think there would have been some pretty significant burns by now on OMI. But if you've noticed, probably the past, I don't know, 8 to 10 months, like I have stopped throwing out price predictions. But I'll say this, like, I think that if a lot of these narratives hit, I think that it could hit higher than its all-time high. And that's where I'm going. Where it hits above the all-time high, I don't know, right? And I'm not going to pretend that anymore. And yeah, like a lot of that was speculation, and but I still feel strongly that it'll hit above the all-time high if it hits one of these narratives. And that's why I'm buying these things, right? And I'm having the dollar cost average. because I'll buy at one price that I think is phenomenal, 0007, right? And then it's down. It's down more than 50% from that, which I thought was an amazing price. And so right now to me is an even more amazing price because I think that, like it still has this opportunity to hit that. And I use the term euphoria. And if you were not there in the last bull market, nothing makes sense. It doesn't make sense. Like everyone was a genius in crypto, okay? In 2020, in 2021, everyone was a genius all of a sudden. Like it didn't matter what token they bought, it went up. And everyone's like, "Oh, I'm just making so much money. I'm buying this." And I was like, what does this project even do? Like how is this project up like this, right? Like it doesn't make sense. So where some of these price predictions come from is that experience that we had in the last bull market, seeing how things sometimes don't make sense, but some of the ones that made ironically, the biggest performer last market like cycle was OMI, was the OMI token. They barely even had nap out, right? They had none of these things, but it was a speculation on NFTs and that they had DC Comics at the time. That was the big thing, that they had Batman, right? And now they have way, way, way more. They have Golden Age comics, guys, on VeVe. Marvel has tied their digital future in comic books to VeVe. Like these are massive things. So as the market gets frothy and people are euphoric and they lose all sense of logic, right? They are buying a token because it's going up, right? And whatever the narratives are there's money that's getting thrown out like crazy. So that's where some of these price predictions happened, or at least mine, right? Like where they were coming from is speculation from information that we'd been given. The timelines were off. But do I still feel like OMI can surpass its all-time high? I absolutely do. And for me, that is why I'm buying. But you guys got to make that decision for yourselves, right? Put on your big girl pants and own those decisions. And that's the thing that we talk about this all the time, and we still see it, right? Where people are whining, well, we were told this. And I was like, I was too. I was told it, and I bought off of some of that. But you don't hear me complaining about that, right? Like I own that decision because at the end of the day, it was me who made that decision to believe that. And I made a decision off of that, and I've got to own that. And I'm learning from it. And that's why I also diversify. So anyways, hope that gives some perspective. And Randy, I don't know if you want to add anything else to that with the price targets. And
I do. So first off, frothy is like my new favorite word, adding it to my vernacular right now. Outside of that, I'm talking about big boy decisions. I remember being really sick. I had a stomach virus like 2 years ago, and I decided like I can't drink water. I can't even have a little bit of like white rice. Like I'm already miserable. I'm just gonna get Taco Bell. And what do you think happened? Of course, the worst thing had happened. I was already sick. I got even sicker. Like not 3 minutes after devouring that, because I had eaten nothing for like a few days. Introduced poison to your body. Of course, your body wants to get rid of it. And I immediately regretted that decision. And then what happened? And that was my big boy decision. I had to live with that, and it sucked for the next couple of days. But I think when people go in and they take a look at some of these companies, you have to. Like the SEC even said that the other day, or I think the new CryptoZar said that about the SEC, that you shouldn't rely on the government or government agencies to try to protect you. If you want to go into a project that has no doxed owners and the owners has like 80% of the supply, don't be surprised when that goes down. Now, according to how's this fall into OMI price targets? I've said before that crypto is an inaccurate weighing machine. And there are some projects that should not go to tens of millions, hundreds of millions, or billions of dollars, but they do, not because of any fundamental reason, maybe some pumpamentals, but because the people that hold the token honestly believe that it should go to a certain price point, like whatever the market cap actually is, that be damned. They hold it because they honestly believe it'll go to a specific price point. It doesn't matter if it should or not. Now, most of these people that are here, I shouldn't say that, most of the fudders that are out there right now, they probably have next to no OMI. And the ones that do, like I can maybe count, I can count on one hand the amount of successful fudders that I know. And when I say that, I mean having at probably 6 figures plus in net worth to be able to actually make some decisions here. You have David and Dan and Dr. Profit and the business development wallet in total over 100 billion OMI. So out of the 305 billion in there, okay, well, slash 33%, 35, almost like 40, slash 100-ish billion out of there. That's 200 billion left. How much do the fudders have of that? And even if the fudders, they still have OMI, well, I don't want to sell down here because it's basically nothing. I'll sell when it pumps. I will dump when it pumps. Okay, how much do you think those fudders have? Probably not a lot. Probably not a meaningful enough amount in order to dump on us, in order to say like, oh yeah, it's going up. Now get ready for this red candle because the fudders are going to dump. I do not believe that they have a significant amount. If anything, a lot of the fudders that have these random accounts, whatever they are, they'll likely go back in. So there's a buddy of mine that was in a certain group. They happened to be bullish on OMI and VeVe back in the day. It's turned into a Randy Chavez FUD group. And not 2 months ago, they said like, hey guys, I think the OMI is actually going to start to move in Q1. They still watch my videos. Hi guys. If you go in and count the fudders that are going to get back in, they're probably going to cross trade with a lot of the fudders that still have OMI, and they're going to dump and sell, and not including the new people that'll come in. And again, not including the people that think OMI is going to go to 20, 30 cents. And I'm not saying that it can't go there. The odds are probably pretty low. I think it goes to 3 to 5 cents. Am I gonna sell my entire bag at half a penny? No, Chavez, it's like 20x from here. Why wouldn't you do that? Because I believe it goes higher. And there's multiple people that will come in at those prices and higher. Think like, guys, I got this at a penny. What if it goes to $1? Because they're not going to understand market caps, and they're honestly going to believe that it can and it will. So that's why prices can get insane. I know that's such a long-winded thing. I'm so sorry.
Don't apologize, man. People, that's what people are here, is to hear your opinion, hear our opinion. Don't apologize at all. I did have to laugh when you were like, the fudders watch my channel. You're like, hey guys. That's funny. And that's what I think is funny, is when people come on here and they talk crap, but like they're literally spending time, which is one of the most precious resources that anyone has, to comment on these channels. And it's like, well, hey, thanks for the watch, I guess, more than anything, appreciate that. Wish you the best. I call them clowns and stuff because I just like, clowns do silly things, and I'm just like, that it's absolutely silly that they do something like that they're spending their time. and that's why they're not successful, right? We're out here, we do the research, and then we talk about the research that we do. But then the people who are, all they do is attack other people. They're not doing the research. They're sitting there and they're trying to make themselves feel better, I guess, right? By trying to put other people down. Those are not the people I want to be listening to, right? And that's why it's like, we're just going to ban them, because you guys shouldn't have to listen to that either, right? They add no value to anything. But I appreciate the insight for me. And here's one of the things that I'm going to be doing. Like I'm going to dollar cost average out of tokens as it goes, because I can't time the top, right? And it is such a powerful thing to actually take profit. It's so powerful, right? To sell some of the token and be like, okay, I've made money, and then put that aside. That is something that people are going to need to learn to practice, because if they don't, right? Like I didn't, when even VeVe prices were super high, right? And like Crypto Cosmo was telling me, like, he's like, oh, when Spider-Man was at like 85,000, he's like, you should sell it. Now, at the time, I believed that interoperability was coming, and I was looking at Bored Ape Yacht Club prices, and I was like, okay, well, they got nothing on the OG Spider-Man, right? So I was like, no. But still, I should have looked there and been like, okay, is there something I can sell? I got my Spider-Man for $400. I sell it for $85,000. Is there something that I could then put that money into, right? Because let's say that I believed it was going to go to 850,000, another 10x from there. Is there something that I could have put that money into that's going to do more than a 10x, right? This is how I'm starting to think now, where I'm not trying to get necessarily greedy on some of the tokens that have pumped significantly. I need to take some profits from that and then roll that into something that hasn't pumped, right? But then still take a little bit to the side that I'm going to hold for the next bear market if that comes. But yeah, I appreciated your points, Randy.
Okay, question here from OG. Now, there's a lot of comments we haven't gotten to. If you really need your comment seen super in advance, you can super chat it, and it'll put it up to the top of the queue, and you don't have to. Like, we'll get your comment later if not. But OG had a good question. I've been a supporter of VeVe from the start. However, I'm getting very, very frustrated, finding it hard to continue to support this project. I know you guys must feel the same. Please give us your honest feedback, unbiased opinion of the future. I'm pretty sure that's what you get from all of us all the time without even needing to request that specifically. But what you're hoping for is that we just shoot it straight. Now, an interesting thing about your timing, notice when your timing is. So you came into VeVe from the start. Now, start like October of 2020, because that's my question. My guess is no, you were not here in October 2020. And it was a very hard time to be a supporter of VeVe because you were not getting feedback from other people that you were in the right place. You were getting feedback probably that, oh my gosh, the app is live and the token hasn't done shit and it's a failure and I should have just held Bitcoin. And for the next number of months, a few things sold out, like the original, what was it? The Batman, Edward Rizzo. Am I saying that right? The Rizzo Batman. Rizzo sold out. And a few other things sold out, like Donnie and stuff, that there was an abysmally low number of them. But most things weren't selling out. The Todd McFarlane Batman, I started buying in March. My mint numbers were like 1,400. And that's in March. So like it seemed like it was an abysmal failure. Then crypto went crazy, which is probably when you came in. So you're probably getting, it feels like being part of the cool crowd when everything seems to be going well. And by seems to be going well, there were tons of complaints. Oh my gosh, bots are stealing all the value, which they were. And it was so hard to get a drop. Yes, it was. And so there were plenty of complaints, but it felt like you were in the cool kids club. Then when a bear market happens, it feels like for 3 years you've been out of the cool kids club and you've hung on, which is cool, but it's hard for 3 years to feel like no momentum is coming that way. And you're right, no momentum has been coming this way for like 3 years now. Know that that's going to turn around. It's going to turn around in this next year because it's really only a 4-year cycle. But it's hard to be there when you don't feel the momentum going towards you. You feel it going away. And guess what? You're still here, which means you've outlasted like 85% of people. But there might still be another 5% or 7% that fall away before momentum comes this way. And you know when it's actually the hardest not to get washed out is when other things are popping off and the thing that you're in isn't popping off yet. That's what collapses the last number of people, because they're like, oh, the cool crowd is over here. By the cool crowd is you want to be somewhere where the momentum is. And so it feels like you're where the momentum isn't. And that doesn't feel like a fun place to be. And so then that washes out some more people. And you've seen some people wash out into meme coins, sell their OMI and like, oh, memes are the place to be. They've now found out meme coin narrative ends too. And it sucks to be holding memes when the narrative ends. And they found out it doesn't feel like a cool place to be in meme coins anymore. So they sold what was low to roll into something that was high, and probably it didn't work out very well for them. Cool. I'd rather just hold till the narrative goes crazy. And I'm in lots of narratives till it goes crazy and then roll it in. But you're here after 3 years of probably being in, and it feels like probably you're feeling like you're down to your last nerve, and the next big thing is going to wash you away. And I hope it doesn't, because you're going to be completely out of position for when things do go crazy.
Look, I mean, it's crazy. Like my portfolio just from last month, like when there was like a lot of speculation about Trump and his announcement and getting to the presidency and all these things, crypto was doing like going up, right? And now like my portfolio's down pretty good. It's just in a month, right? But like it doesn't faze me because I feel like I've done the research, right? And that's why I'm okay with it going to zero. And then from there I'd be like, well, what did I miss? How was my research off? What did I miss there? And I don't know, just man, I get the frustration, and I'll say this, right? I try to shoot straight, and in fact, like I'm surprised that you're saying like, tell me your real honest thoughts. I feel like I've criticized VeVe in the past. I even just said, I guess in the chat, I didn't say it like live, but like Wes was saying, you know, do you think that Omi the NFT gets rolled back to 2026? I'd be like, man, I'd be worried. I'd be worried if it got pushed back to 2026. I would say why? If there's more regulatory clarity, right? And like and it's not like a tech thing. If it was a tech thing, I'd be concerned because they already have that on Stacker with others. So it shouldn't be a tech thing. So my question would be why? Why is it the IPs? What's going on there? I'd have concerns. Is the app as engaging as it was? Am I as engaged in the app now as I was before? No, right? Like, because back then and for a long time, it was really new. It's not so new anymore. So are there other things that they can be doing? Yeah. And I've talked about that. I think that they should have a leaderboard. I think a leaderboard. Now, I think that we're going to start seeing a lot more of that on Stacker. So I'll probably be participating more on Stacker and things, but like the drops will all happen on VeVe. And if they can make some of like, I want to be able to place bids on stuff, right? I want to be able to communicate with people, and I can't do that. So like that is a thing that it would be great if VeVe did that. Now, if I could do that on Stacker, then I'll go to Stacker, but Stacker's still going to be tied to VeVe. So then I'm not worried necessarily about VeVe with that stuff. I'll tell you what, I still use my app. My kids freaking love the AR stuff, right? The videos. I've got so many videos of my daughter and my son getting shot by Iron Man or getting smashed by Hulk and then like falling down dead. Like, it's just like they can do that for so long. So I love some of those things, and that's really fun. I really like that. But are there things that they could improve upon within the app? Yes. Are there a lot of other things that I think I'm a little bit more concerned with? Like I want Omi the NFT with, my Disney NFTs and things. Like I want that more than I want some of these other things. I want leaderboards more than I want some of these other things that could show up on the app. So like I try to give honest feedback, and I'll give you the perfect example, which OG, you probably didn't see this stream, but and this was my knee-jerk reaction, and I've learned since then, but there was a post about the Barton Homer Golden Moment statue getting the signature of Matt Greening taken off this shoe. And I lost my shit. On Randy's channel, I came on and I was like, I'm not buying anything. This is unacceptable. I was like, if they can change that, I was like, no, like this is so concerning. So I do try to give my true feedback, right? I don't hold back on stuff. And it's funny that I get called a moon boy sometimes because like I'm just like, well, okay, like I'm just calling it as I see it, right? Like, and I point out the weaknesses. And the important thing is to do your research and understand the weaknesses and say, am I still okay with those weaknesses? Or is there a weakness or a red flag there that I'm not comfortable with? And that taking off the Matt Greening where I thought that they could do that was a big red flag that I was not comfortable with. And I called him out on that, only to be called out live when it came back and they just said, sorry, there was like this re-imaging thing as they were sharpening up some of the image and it got covered over and it's back. And I was like, well, I feel like an idiot right now, as I did that. But so I do think that you get like our true thoughts on that. And I don't think that we're afraid. Well, I'm not afraid to call things out when I'm concerned.
Awesome. Great answer. Mr. MC1 in the house.
My
Good
man.
to have you here, Sanjay. I can't believe you missed most of this to watch a basketball game. That is very disappointing. Priorities.
I would say if you're frustrated, like it's like I understand people having hey, just collect what you like. Sure, I collect what I like too. That's why I have like 1,300 collectibles, whatever it is. But if you're really getting frustrated and it's like, hey, why do I keep doing this? Don't do it. If you say like, hey, why should I buy this thing when it's only going to become half as cheap as soon as I buy it? Don't buy it. Like if you're buying specifically for the ROI, don't do it, or do it on the secondary where you can buy at an already discounted price. I mean, speak with your wallet. I'm frustrated too. I countless ideas on how to market. How much of it is being done? How much marketing have you guys seen? But at the end of the day, you do have a new head honcho that may or may not have had to fix a couple of things when he first got here. And a lot of times CEOs don't get to do or work on the problems that they want to work on because they have to constantly put out fires. They have to constantly work on stuff that they need to work on, because if they don't, then that problem gets big and it exacerbates, and then that becomes a big problem for the company. But in that same breath, I'll say that he's been hiring a lot of people specifically for marketing. In the past, it seems that the salaries that they were offering were pretty low. I don't know if that's continued. In the past, it seems that we've had a lot of third world developers that maybe weren't the best choices. It seems that, I don't know if that's continued. I think a lot of these things have likely been corrected. But again, we don't know. Another thing that I'd love to know is, like, we can calculate how much they're making on the VeVe Comics NFT side, but we don't know how much they're making from just the digital comics. Like, I would thoroughly enjoy knowing that. Obviously, as far as revenue goes, yeah, revenue's down quite a lot. Still making a ton in comparison to other companies. But yeah, if you're worried, or if you're not excited, yeah, by all means, don't throw good money over what could potentially be bad money. But again, that's up to you. I still buy what I like. I buy, like, I'll get one of VeVe Magic's collectibles. I'll go in and I'll get Avengers vs. Aliens 3 tonight. And I still buy Omi, because I believe that in 10 months, it's not going to matter what happened here. In 10 months, it'll probably be pretty good, in pretty good shape. Just my opinion.
Big A was saying there was a big dump. Somebody sold all their Omi for Debbie. Where'd that comment go? That's funny. Oh, there we go. There was a big dump in Omi when someone sold all their Omi and bought Debbie. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask him about the transaction hash, or where he saw that. Because
yeah, like, how much did they really dump? Because the price didn't move that much. Like the price, maybe it went to 0000285, and then it went to 000 at the low yesterday was, oh no, the 16th was 2730. But there's not. If they did, it didn't move the price at all, or if it did, very little. So I don't, like, how much Omi did that really?
Yeah. Dano says, to Randy's point, yes, I absolutely agree that people won't care about app functionality if they can make money on the app, 100%. But is that what VeVe really wants, to gain users during a hype cycle?
Well, they definitely want to gain users during a hype cycle. I understand what you're saying. Is like, well, shouldn't they think long term? And again, like, the app, when it first relaunched in November, yeah, it was horrible. But how many new app updates have we gotten since then? Like 8. And I think now it's as good, if not better, than it was before the update. And it seems like all of the stuff that needs to get fixed, it's a lot easier to fix. And that's what I like. Yeah, you have some short-term pain, but then it's like, whenever if anyone has a Tesla, they'll know every time a new full self-driving update is out, it is immediately worse than the previous update. But after a couple of weeks, hey, it's now better than it was. That's just what happens. So yeah, that's my answer on that.
Yeah. Now Doc has to bail anytime now, so I have a little bit of time. We can go trying to get caught up on some of these comments. Still behind on them. Only running about 40 minutes behind when your comment came in, so we're close.
All right, Doc.
Gentlemen, yep, I'm going to bounce. I appreciate everyone, and I'll have to watch the rest of the stream a little bit later, but appreciate everyone's comments, especially those kind of welcoming me back. Going through some personal stuff as well, and it's kept me pretty occupied. And I don't know how long that's going to last. Hopefully not too much longer. But yeah, I love seeing everyone. It's great to see the comments, and it's great to be on stage again with these two freaking epic gentlemen. And we'll see y'all later. Peace out.
We'll see you, Doc.
What's some other questions you got? I'm ready.
Well, I was just thinking too, right? Like I was like, well, a lot of my audience doesn't know what a bull run that you're prepared for feels like, because a lot of them came in. Now, a few of them, I did start my channel in December 2020, and I was talking about some uncovered gems then, and I had all of like 200 subscribers or 300 subscribers, and eventually grew to like 1,200 before things really took off. And so a small percentage of my subscribers got to experience that, but most of them came in later when everything was hot, and so they haven't had a bull market that they're prepared for. And I'm really excited for how that feels, because it feels like the bear market and then even the early bull market when Bitcoin's taking off. But most of the altcoins that you're in are not yet. In fact, if you're in the higher risk altcoins, like most of my portfolio is, most of those have not run yet. And it feels like you're in the wastelands, and it feels terrible, but it leads to amazing results when eventually those narrative hits and people become like super sleuths of like, oh my gosh, did you know that there was this token associated with an app that has Marvel Comics and has this and this and this, and oh my gosh, crazy. And then they tell all their friends, and things like Omi go absolutely nuts, and they go the other way. And then everyone feels like they're a genius. So Valentine had a good question here. Guys, I was thinking the other day, it'd be great if you can bring to the table something that David, you said in one of his interviews, that he was in touch with Ripple's CEO. This may be bigger than we think, since how Ripple is doing nowadays and all the speculation that has been around. I can't remember his exact words, but maybe something to speculate on.
I think I might vaguely remember him mentioning it, but not enough to be like, oh yeah, I remember this is what he said, this is what he meant. I don't know. Do you remember that?
Well, I remember him talking about that they had, and I don't remember if this was like at the private VeVe party, where he was talking about how like they had talked to Ripple's team about how it is to have the SEC going after them. It's better just to stay off the SEC's radar, because though Ripple felt like they were going to win, they were $200 million into this, and how they could have used that money in other places. Though they felt like they were standing on principle, it sucked being in that position, because they're like, man, we really could have used that money in other places. So it's just better to stay off their bad list than, even if you're right, to be on the bad list. And that's the only conversation that I'm aware of. So yes, Ripple is doing some amazing things. Do I know that it directly translates to what Omi's token is doing or what VeVe is doing? I don't, other than it's nice to know that he has friends in such high places. And clearly David has friends in high places. In China, when he got our Bitforex tokens back, like, do you realize how rare that is? Most of the time when your tokens are on exchange that goes down, you're lucky to get those tokens back. You might get a fraction of the value in US dollars in a few cases, but to get the tokens back, like, I don't know that I've even seen that happen before. So he must have some connection in high places.
Agreed. I think in the documentary that they'll make one day, people will see exactly what David's done to protect everyone. It's like that. There's like a meme I saw once of this kid sleeping, and his teddy bear has like a little wooden sword and a little wooden shield, and it's like fighting this giant dragon. It's like what your stuffed animals do while you're sleeping, and you never know. David is that teddy bear that has been fighting insane. I can't wait for that to come out, and then people will know, oh my God, this dude should be kick Mother Teresa off the saints list, or what, good deeds list. It's insane.
Big A has a really good point here. The Argentina Libra coin scandal exposed how insider the market is, especially on Solana, and lots of people rotating away from Sol. So Solana has done really, really good because of meme coins has been a major narrative that's run, and most of the meme coin speculation has happened on Solana, which is why Solana's value has gone up so much as people are using Solana. And the truth is, like, it feels less risky to people because they're like, look, I can use my recency bias to see that the token has been doing well, so therefore it's probably always going to continue to do well. And recency bias like leads you astray so often. As well as, oh, I'm buying all these meme coins on Solana and everything's making money, and then it doesn't. And so narratives rotate, and meme coins narrative was never going to last for forever. And also the amount of insider stuff. Now, because I have a YouTube channel, I get offered all the time to participate in this kind of stuff. And I have zero interest in it because essentially they're making profits by pushing their audience into crap, and they're just dumping the crap. Like, and I believe in buying substantive projects that you often have a longer time to wait on to see how it plays out. And that it's a strategy that both myself and my audience can make amazing money into, that I don't need to like get my audience all hyped up about something and dump in my audience's hands. I don't like that kind of approach. And that's a lot of what, like that scandal with Libra, like who dumped on them, I don't know. Was Argentina's new president did he realize what was going to happen? I doubt it. He probably got caught up like the Hawk Tua gal, and like, the people that were putting it together were probably, same kind of thing, that they're like probably expected to rug pull on everyone. And they got a bunch of people hyped on it. I saw Dave Portnoy talking about it because he got a lot of his audience to do it. And the guy, Dave Portnoy was like, well, I'm going to disclose that, I'm getting paid some of this. No, you can't disclose that. Oh, no. So he ended up not accepting the tokens because they didn't want him to disclose it. But red flag right there. And there's a lot of these scams and stuff. And I've been invited to groups. It's like, oh, meme coins, then we're going to pump this. And then we're going to pump this. And I just have no, I don't want to make money in a space where my audience can't also make money. I like win-win situations. So this approach that I've taken is the way that I've seen regular people make incredible money. And that's what I do. That's what I use myself. And that's what I share with you guys. Are there other ways you can make money? Sure. Grow a really large Twitter audience and get invited to some of these meme coin shilling groups. And sure, you'll make money. Your audience will get wrecked, but you'll make money. You can do that. I won't do that. But other people, I guess, have different feelings on that. Yes, there's some shady shit that goes on. In fact, probably that's what the lawsuit between Comey and Ben Gidenzi is all about. I felt like they got down the road and they're like, I'm not sure I like what this Ben guy is willing to do. It feels like uncomfortable to us. Maybe we need to part ways with him. I've seen a lot of crypto projects that they come in, they don't really know crypto, they get paired with somebody. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to do this. And then they, might pay a bunch of influencers to shill things and not disclose who's getting paid. And then, people with strong ethics are going to be like, wait. I don't want to do that. Because it's just what you have to do in crypto. And then they have to sever ties with people like that. Now, do I know that that's what happened in the Ben Gidenzi lawsuit? I don't know what happened there. But I know in other cases, that's what has happened. And I know projects that have had to sever from the people that the crypto insiders that they got connected up with, because a lot of crypto insiders, that's how they think. That's what they do. And it's just a total game of pumping shit on everyone else rather than substantive investment.
Agreed. This is what I dislike about crypto markets, is that in the stock market, if you have dumb money entering and they don't know what to do, you have the VOO and the SPY, and any of the brokers or financial advisors worth their salt will just say to do that. Sucks dumb money out of the market. But the crypto market has they have ETFs, and they have a lot of these ETFs are not readily available to people. Not a lot of them are well known. There's Bitcoin ones, there's Dogecoin ones. They're just in one thing. But there's nothing that really takes dumb money out of it. And you should never really underestimate that stupid people at large. And people will go in and they'll buy these things that have no substance. They have no doxed owners. One owner will own like a majority of the supply, et cetera, et cetera. That's why a lot of times meme coins are not good. Well, most of the time.
They're totally risky. Ace Rig Move says, great idea. Comey should sponsor this channel.
Maybe one day.
I mean, there's room on, this banner for strategic partners. So Wanchain, Definity, Comey, VeVe sounds good to me. In fact, both Comey and VeVe, that would be great.
I will, if they do that for this specifically for Omi is my homie channel, I promise to not drink ever on the Omi is my homie channel. At least on the days where we have the show. No promises about any other day.
All right. Valentine says, why is David so less active around VeVe? Do you guys know?
He's very active on VeVe. I think he might mean Twitter, but he's always traveling. He's always meeting with licensors. He's actively working most of his waking day, or most of the day in general. And but I know that people don't see it on Twitter. I mean, he shares stuff every now and then. He posts on Instagram, but he's definitely working. He's definitely active. He's got a very, again, CEO. So
yeah, he needs to be more active. Come on, David. Come on our channel once a week. That'd be perfect. We don't need a sponsorship. Just come on for our video every Tuesday, and we'll take that instead.
I think that what Ray is trying to say is that even if David did offer that, I don't think we would let him, because the more times he does that, the less time he's working on other stuff. So I feel like if there was a button that we could push that would make David appear every Tuesday at 8 p.m., I don't think we would push it. At least not every week. Maybe once a month.
I might push it just for fun, but Randy's not wrong in that David is doing what David does best, which is why the co-CEO, Ben, is doing amazing things. Because as an investor, where do you really want David? You want him making new license deals. I don't know of a person better in the world than him for that. That's why they get top intellectual property. So David Yu is doing what he is uniquely brought into this world to be able to do well. He understands collecting like few people. He's been collecting at such an early age. He's so passionate about it. For him, this isn't even work. These are the right things for somebody who creates a company like VeVe. And so the truth is we do want David out doing what David does best. In interviews, he's so passionate about this stuff. I think he's cautious because he gets so excited. He what can I talk about and what can I not talk about? Because there's a whole bunch of things that, he can't talk about. And so he's got to be careful on going on things because he's so excited about it and so passionate about it. And he loves giving us all the information that then it could put him in risk in jeopardizing some licenses. Now, he's been really good at not disclosing stuff he shouldn't disclose, but I'm sure it's hard. As well as David Yu is out there traveling and meeting with different companies. The amount of approvals it takes for some of these big licenses to come on board is a crazy process. Now, some of the smaller licenses they do, that can happen pretty fast, but these big licenses, it's a multi-stage process.
I honestly think that part of the reason that Ben came on, or that they brought Ben on, is because David wanted to focus more, not just on licenses, but specifically the Pokemon license. They've been in talks for years. And I think if he just had a little more time to dedicate to that, he could figure out a way to get them on. And ever since Ben's come on, you've had X amount of months for this. I think I have zero evidence of this, but I think that's part of the reason, hey, this is worth it if I can get Pokemon. Yeah. So I believe that one day we get that.
I like this comment from Pink Panther. It says, we have the most energetic futters in Omi. They are professional. Boy, they are energetic. That's a good way of saying it. The Seasick Viking says, got to exercise the selling muscle. Yes, and it can be hard.
Agreed. That is a muscle that I do not have. Selling muscle. I have to get it a good workout this bull run, though. We'll see.
Let's see.
What have we got? Is that it? All right. I guess we got that, Brad.
Lee can give you the transaction hat. It sounds like what 16K of Omi was sold, and then they dropped it into Devi. Well, so I don't like to change around. Like I have both Devi and Omi. Now, when one goes massively up, I'll rearrange. And, I'm purchasing a house, so I have to take some profits on some things coming up. And it's killing me to have to do that. I'm like, no, what am I going to sell? They're not at prices that I want. Though, overall, my portfolio is still up. It's going to be way, way more up in the future. But I have a thing called a wife. And when you have a thing called a wife in your life, sometimes you have to make decisions that you would rather not make because your wife needs it, because it's not really taking profits time, and that'll come later.
Great. I, on the other hand, have yet to feel the warmth of a woman. So I do not have the wife problem.
That's the rumor anyway. Wes says 0.00. Please be right. Let's see Devi go to like $70 and Omi go to that. That would be great, because I feel like from here, I don't feel like Omi is very risky. I feel like the risk is really, really low. And it goes back to my real estate days. When I was buying a property, the cheaper I bought it, the happier I was, because the risk was lower. Your rent was still good. So the cheaper I could get a property. So if I was looking at a property and it was $100,000 and the person's like, no, I'm going to sell it to you for $70,000. It was like the value of the property still was what the value of the property was, whether or not other people realized it. My job was to realize where was the real value of the property versus what other people thought. So if they're like, oh man, I'm really scared, I'm going to sell it to you for $70,000. I was like, that was my job in the negotiation, was try to get it for $70,000 or $50,000 if I could, because the cheaper I got it, the less risk it was. So when we're buying these altcoins, the true fundamental value is where it really is. There's our perception of what the value is and where it really is. And I feel like my perception of Omi's value is that it's much higher than what the current price is. So everything that goes below this is just like icing on an already good cake. But other people feel like the lower it goes, the riskier it is. And I think it's the other way. They're saying, oh my gosh, it's going to fail. And it's like, yeah, what evidence is there that they are going to fail? Well, they're making less revenues than they were a year ago, which is true. That doesn't mean it's going to fail, because it fails is if they run out of cash or the ability to borrow cash or the ability to sell equity in order to get more cash. And I think they can. Number one, they have more cash. They have cash that comes in from sales. Even failed sales still bring them quite a bit of cash. Number two, they could probably borrow cash. But if they couldn't do that, they have a strong enough brand, enough going on, they would be able to sell equity for quite a bit of cash. So I don't think they're anywhere near failure. So the cheaper it goes, the fundamental value is what it is. It's just the price is getting even cheaper. So would it be a great thing? Like, Wes, if you can make that happen, please make that happen.
I would say, be advised that a lot of times Wes is a troll, and I don't think he actually believes in what he says. If he did, he would sell here, because then he would just buy it back cheaper down there. And because he's not doing that, again, you're obviously not believing what he's saying. At the end of the day, though, yeah, there's still like 13, 14 billion Omi on Bit4X. And all of the stuff that we know is coming, VeVeverse, Stacker, with the Omi to NFT for other stuff, exchanges, all this jazz, we just don't know when. If you have Bit4X that is offloading another, let's say 2 billion Omi next month, they miss their deadlines again, which more likely than not, that's what VeVe does. You can get a big FUD storm, and yeah, we could go down to the 0001s. And if Devi does what we think it can do, and I don't know when they do that, I don't think there'll be any big announcement this month. There's only 10 more days. So hopefully next month we'll see. But yeah, I'll go in and I'll try to get 1 billion Omi. That would be great. And then hopefully that goes up before Definity, and then I'll buy as much Infinity as I can. I'll buy Essence. I'll buy so much of these other stuff. I'll get more Decat. But yeah, I hope it does, because this way I don't think I can get my billion Omi if Omi goes up. But if it stays down here or gets cut in half, then I have a good shot.
Wes is frustrated seeing his portfolio down. He'll be the exact opposite and super happy when it starts pumping, as will most people, right? Like it is hard watching the numbers go down until like some point in the future where the number goes crazy, and then you'll kind of forget this pain. But while you're in the middle of it, it's hard. So I often share like exactly what happened with Cardano, because Cardano was a perfect example of how I started dollar cost averaging way too early. And I started buying it. It had gone all the way to like $1.40 or something. And I started buying it at 11 cents, thinking, man, a really good deal. It's like 90% off. This is great. Oh, it's so cheap. And then it went to 9 cents. Then went to 7 cents. Then went to 5 cents. Went to 3 cents. And I dollar cost averaged at all those different benchmarks. But I bought half my Cardano at 3 cents. Like I made a significant purchase. I was really happy with myself. And then I went to like 1.7 cents. I was like, oh, crap. I could have bought so much more. My complaint wasn't that I bought Cardano when it got cheaper. My complaint was I could have bought so much more if I had waited till 1.7 cents versus all these other buy-in points. I don't have a magic crystal ball. I don't know where the bottom is, but I was frustrated because this was my first bear market that I was dollar cost averaging in. And I wanted to get the biggest bags possible because I was hoping that I was right and that 2021 crypto would massively pump. That was my thesis. And I suspected that's how it would play out. But to that date, we had only had 2 bull markets following the halvings. And so it was kind of a risk that would happen. It played out that way. And I made a fortune. And so looking back, I'm pretty happy with what I made. Although it would have been nice to know it's going to 1.7 cents and put all my money in. Then I would end up with like 5 times more Cardano. And Cardano alone made me over $1 million. So had I been able to get 5 times more, boy, that would have been nice. Oh, well, I don't have a magic crystal ball. I can't see like the future. That's an unrealistic expectation. You know that when you're dollar cost averaging, like it will often go cheaper than you expect it will. And that's a good and bad thing. It's a good thing because you can now bring down your costs even more and get even more at a really cheap price. And it's a bad thing because sometimes you lose faith and you lose heart and you wash out. And that's unfortunate. But I saw that happen all last bear market. And most of the people that started dollar cost averaging those things with me, they all washed out and they didn't get to see that amazing day when the prices flipped around and went crazy and went over 100x from there. Oh, well. And there will be some that still continue to wash out on this OMI journey. But I did like enough what was going on with OMI. I love David Yu. I love the company, like what they're doing at VeVe and the people behind VeVe. Shout out to those VeVe team members who got collectibles with them in it, like VeVe Magic. That is awesome. These are really cool people, and I love that that's happening, that they get immortalized in like VeVe history this way. Would have loved to see a Randy Chavez collectible, so someday hopefully we'll get that. I'm excited with what Omi's doing. I think it's an amazing thing. That's why we created a dedicated thing on this. And, when we started this almost a year ago, like a lot of people were washing out of Omi and they're like, Omi's dead. And what I saw for me was still their probabilities of survival are super, super high. And yet it keeps getting cheaper and people are running away from it when it's like, in my opinion, the risk is getting lower and lower and lower because you're buying it at such a good price that not only is your risk of not making money like going down, the amount of money you make is going to go way, way up because at some point it's going to reverse and reverse hard. And you just getting the opportunity to buy it even cheaper and then cheaper and then cheaper. And remember, the pendulum swings too far each way. And if it continues to swing way too far to the downside, it's going to reverse way too high to the upside. And that's a great thing.
Agreed.
Real quick, Michael asks, is it public knowledge that VeVe has cash on hand? No. That'd be great. David, please give me a call. Let me know what the cash on hand numbers are. I would appreciate that. That would be fantastic information. That's the kind of information I would love to have.
Same. I would love that as well.
Started buying my Bitcoins at 6K, says Big A, and then it kept dropping. With my last buy around 3,200. Felt bad buying at half the price, but fast forward and it really didn't matter what I bought at 3K or at 6K. Exactly.
Mr. MC wants to someday in the not so distant future, there'll be a TV show about VeVe and Omi. Some of us will be in it for legendary moves. Randy with his Omi and his Mighties will be in. That's very possible. I don't know what I'd like to be remembered for. Omi, Mighties, Lokis, with the number 41 logos. I don't know. We'll see.
I just want to be remembered for making one of the first videos on VeVe back when the Todd McFarlane was 80 gems, and I lost half my YouTube audience covering VeVe because a lot of people were excited about Cardano. Cardano had gone from like pennies to it was over $1, and half my audience said, stop covering this stupid stuff like this VeVe and Batman shit and get back to the real stuff. And I was like, wait. I always told you I'm here for investing. And 80 gems for this Todd McFarlane sounds like a deal. And so, cool, if you want to leave, that's cool. I'm covering good deals, and it seems like a good deal. And then later, this bear market going all in on Omi. I'm happy with those bets.
Yeah, the dance moves, Rain. You'll be
Sunday will be for the parties, and of course the MC1s. Crypto Rain will be in it for the dance moves.
100%. Yeah, so you have some pretty sweet moves.
That video, Rain. Yeah, it was so bad. My production quality was terrible. My thumbnails were terrible. They were all done by me back then, and they were bad.
I just use screenshots for my thumbnails, or just screenshots of whatever.
Which is still like 7 times better than my thumbnails back then were. But like, yeah, I knew a little bit about Photoshop, not a lot about graphic design, but a little bit about Photoshop.
Yeah, I guess it's expensive art. It's an expensive education or hobby to pursue, because to get all like the colored pencils and all that, you have to spend a decent amount of money. And I think that's why these graphic designers and these artists, they charge so much because it takes a lot. So yeah, a lot of stuff you have to pay for.
Of course, the YouTube channels and some of your big calls, and of course the bad ones too. Absolutely. And I've gone through some evolution to where I figured out like what I like the most. And my formula is pretty simple. I like projects that are 2 to like 6 years old, that they've been completely savaged by a combination of 2 things: token investing and the bear market. Like Omi falls in this. Realize that a lot of Omi's lockups were quite long. Their team had huge lockups, but those got released like 2 years ago. Those lockups got released, and that's part of what further savaged the token price down, was the bear market combined with Bitforex. So I love, like, as I look back in these patterns, some of these patterns I didn't realize even yet in 2021. It wasn't until 2022 that I started to put these things together. That's like, look, I look at what really performed well in 2021. You know what extremely performed well? Matic, Sandbox, Cardano. There were some other ones like Aave, but that launched during the bear market, and that was a special case. But a lot of what had hundreds of X's was substantive projects with good teams that had launched a while back and got punished by the bear market, by their token investing and the bear market combined, which really savaged their prices way down. And that looking deeper at the fundamentals, it's like, oh, the fundamentals of this project are strong, and they're back well, and they have a really good team, and they're probably going to survive till the next bull market. And many of those ones fitting that made gains in the hundreds of X's. Now, most stuff going into the bull market didn't do hundreds of X's, but that was the common theme in most of my portfolio that did exceptionally well. And a lot of my portfolio from back in that bear market like failed, as I was still trying to figure it out. Now, I still made really good gains in 2021 because some of my bets that really hit, really hit. But 2/3 of my portfolio failed during that bear market, like 2/3. Why? I was still learning some lessons, and still I made remarkable money, which is incredible. But I doubt anywhere near, even though I've had some failures this bear market, the numbers aren't even close to the same. By this point, like way, way, way more had failed because there was still some learning that I had to do. Like you're always, even though I had 20 years investing experience before this, I feel a little bit embarrassed that 2/3 of my stuff failed in the bear market from 2018 to 2020. But back then I was investing in things like meme coins because I didn't really understand what they were. And I was investing in other things and I hadn't really focused it down. When I look at what I actually made, which was about 100x from the bottom, I mean, the numbers still were quite good. I'm just embarrassed that 2/3 of them failed from 2018 through 2021. Oh, well, just is what it is.
Rip and pasta. We'll get it eventually.
It's cool to look way back sometimes. Even watch some of Randy's original Pokemon content.
That is wild. The first few videos, I didn't even show my face. I was just like, hey guys, look at this first edition PSA 10 Blaine's Charizard and Blaine's Arcanine, the first two in the gym challenge set. Yeah, I didn't show my face for the first few. And I think my first like 40 vids got like 10 or 11 views each. So I remember somebody messaging me once, be like, you know, I keep getting like, you know, only like 50 views. Like, how many videos have you made? You know, I made 6 videos. Like, the fudge out of here. You made 6 videos. Bro, gotta work at it.
Yeah. Sanjay says, when the digital collecting and crypto blockchain markets boom, you guys will have many multiples, more subscribers. Yes, that will happen.
Agreed.
Abe says, ugh, Rain, stop making me take accountability. I just want to blame others for my bad mistakes. Yeah, we all want to do that. I enjoy doing that until I don't. Like, look, it's hard accepting blame. And obviously, Abe is being facetious there. But you really don't take control of your life till you take 100% accountability in your own decisions. And it's hard. And most people don't do it. They actually just blame others why their life isn't going the way they want it to. But what I know about self-created rich people is almost all self-created rich people take 100% accountability so that when things go bad for them, they learn the lessons. Like we've all had somebody lie to us and we're like, that person lied. Do you know if you take full accountability of like you can learn to actually read better when people are lying to you? So instead of just being like, I can't believe that person lied and blah, blah, can you believe how dishonest and that's terrible. And they made me lose all this money because they lied to me. Well, it's true. There are lots of people who are going to lie in order to get you to do stuff. But when you take accountability, you ask, well, what things could I have noticed so that I don't do something with somebody who's going to lie to me again? You start watching facial cues and other things, and you're taking accountability because, you know, back when I was taking karate when I was a much younger kid, my instructor used to say this thing called fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Which means, okay, you caught me off guard with that. Cool, you got me. But if it happens twice, that means I'm not learning from when it went bad for me. And so, like, the only way you're going to become a savage investor, not just in crypto, but in other things, is 100% accountability. And why not? Like, you're going to be around anyway. Why not learn the way to make massive money from this? But that's not going to happen if you're not taking 100% accountability.
Yeah. The young Gilmore Girls fans about VeVe. To the younger that are just discovering Gilmore Girls for the first time, well, I mean, maybe one day we get some Gilmore Girls collectibles on here. Luke would hate it. Luke would be like, nah, give me a fishing rod and a beer. I'll go out. Like, can you get that on VeVe? No, Luke would hate it. Dean would probably say, when are they getting Lord of the Rings? Because he likes Lord of the Rings. Lorelai would probably come up with something funny of just like, hey, you know that little chicken that they had over on from Moana? What if they put the chicken in the oven that Cookie Monster had, and that's how we got this guy? That's where this bucket of fried chicken is coming from. What do you have to say about your war crime? Rory would be a little bit, I don't think she'd be interested unless they had books on here. They do have comic books, so maybe she would. Taylor would try to get it banned because that's what he's like. The grandparents wouldn't get it, but it'd be fun. I think it'd be great to have Alexis Bledel and Lauren Graham them as collectibles, I'd buy a bunch of them.
I have seen like 40 seconds of Gilmore Girls because I thought one of the girls was cute.
It's so good. It's so good.
So, I'm like, oh, she's cute.
They are cute. They're very good looking.
Yeah.
They're my base. I love them. Hopefully,
what am I missing here? Why don't we have Pokemon in the best digital platform alive? Why don't we have Pokemon yet? Who knows? Maybe they get it. Maybe they don't.
There's a lot of. I mean, we had the Jurassic Park license like for 2 years before they put, because Jurassic was like, no, we'll wait for the movie. Wait for the movie. It's like, okay, we'll wait for the movie. So it's possible that we already have it. For anything Nintendo, there are no leaks. 11 years ago, they had a deal with Netflix to create a Legend of Zelda series. And then someone from Netflix posted it on Twitter or wherever, and Nintendo's like, this is how you treat our IP. This is how you treat, like, and they pulled out. I don't know how much money was lost on how. So if there is a deal that's done, now obviously Pokemon is just 1/3 of it. Pokemon actually only owns 1/3 of itself. Another third is owned by Game Freak, and another third is owned by Nintendo. They're likely going to have those same rules. There would be no leaks. It's possible that we have them. It's also possible that a lot of times when dealing with Asian businessmen, you don't just have to get the approval of any one person. You have to get the approval of all of them, and it's a lot of times it's hard to do. If anyone can do it, I think it would be David. He speaks their native tongue. In the military, you're taught that, hey, if you can speak, like they give you, if you speak a second language in the military that isn't like Spanish, because everyone knows that, you get a bonus every month. You speak Russian, speak German, you get a bonus every single month for knowing that language. Because what happens when somebody speaks to you in your native tongue? Your defenses go down. You're more apt to just tell people stuff. I mean, we see it all the time, just on when we interview people, and then off camera. Oh, I'm so worried that I was going to be able to keep my mouth shut. By the way, this is what we're doing, and it's like, oh, okay. Like, there's no NDA sign. There's nothing like that. So yeah, I think that we get it eventually, because Pokemon knows that there's no risk in going on VeVe, because if it fails, oh, that wasn't our failure. That's VeVe's failure. And if it succeeds, like, oh yeah, look at what we did. We didn't have to lift a finger. And then they could do that while building out their own platform. They could use VeVe as a test bed to see what works, what doesn't work, and then have all their stuff on there later. So I think it makes very poetic sense for Pokemon to let their IP onto VeVe.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I hope they're watching this and they're like, yes, because Rain and Randy say so. We're doing it.
I hope so too. And if it ever happens, I'll go live for 24 hours. I will volunteer my time to David, saying, like, hey, this is what it should be. If there's an episode of Burn Notice where Fiona's trying to get Michael Weston's brother, I forget his name, to try to hotwire a car, and he says, V, there's not too many things I could do better than my brother, but hotwiring a car is one of them. There's very few things that I would know better than David, but Pokemon is one of them. That is the one thing that I'm confident I have more knowledge on in the first couple generations and the cards than almost anyone else. I don't want money for it. I don't want credit for it. I just want them to launch the best possible collection that they can do. Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Now, speaking of that, I was at the movie theaters like the last week, and I saw a preview for How to Train a Dragon being done with looking so real. When Pokemon movie like that?
I mean, you could, a lot of stuff you could do with, like, AI can do a lot of really cool stuff. They do that every now and then. Like back in 99 or 98, 99, they had Pokemon the first movie. So that's so wild to say, like, Pokemon the first movie. It's like, Pokemon, don't worry, we're going to have a crap ton of others. They re-released that, I think, in 2014 or 2017, but as like a brand new movie. And
like
there's a little
Pikachu one.
Yeah. So they do that every now and then, and they remake the games every now and then. I think as tech gets better and you could have like an Avatar type movie with Pokemon, What do? Do you re-release the first movie? That would be awesome. Do you go in and do you tweak it a little bit? Some of the stuff might not have aged as well. I think some of the stuff aged perfectly. But we'll say they're coming out with a new Dragonite series, which you have Dragonite as like a postal serviceman in the first movie, and that's what the anime is going to be about. So I don't know. Hopefully hopefully before 2030, maybe for the 30th year anniversary, we get it.
So I have a really important question for you, because you mentioned you were going to get one of those VeVe Magic collectibles. You can get the blue one, or are you going to get the color one?
I don't think I'll be able to afford the blue one. It'll probably be the full color one. And then it'll just be.
How much do you think the blue one's going to go for?
Several $100s. Yeah. I mean, it's
couldn't afford it. But
I mean, I don't have the gems currently in my account, and most everything is going to crypto. So I mean, I could still put money in to buy it off the secondary, but I don't want nobody's floppy second. I want my own. In Pokemon, you have Misty going in and saying, I want to win this Pokemon tournament because the prize was like a box of these dolls. And when she was younger, she had 3 older sisters, and they always got the brand new sets of dolls. And everyone would say, Misty, you're so lucky. You get 3 sets of dolls. But she wanted her own. I want my own VeVe Magic. JG Wentworth, it's my money, and I want it now. It's my VeVe Magic, and I want it now. I want my own. Nobody else.
You want to be the original owner of it.
Yeah, OG.
I did think the colored one looked better than the blue one, even though the blue one's got higher rarity. It's like the washed out blue. They're all right. I mean,
yeah, she looks like a Smurf.
Yeah, like all of them look kind of like. I just don't like the blue look. I get it that they're higher rarity. I think the color ones are cooler. All right. Anything else you want to talk about? We've been going for 2 hours and 41 minutes. Holy cow!
Damn. I think the only other thing that I would say is, what do we have here? It's on February 18th. Don't lose hope, guys. There is, like I said, 2 scenarios that'll happen. Either VeVe and Omi are done and they're on their way to death's door, or this is just the beginning, and Ben bought into the company for a reason, and he changed his ideas of what VeVe could be in the next couple of years, I think, for a reason. And I think all this happens because of Ben knows that the narrative that's going to hit, he doesn't have to do much. That being said, he's doing quite a lot. And I think that they've been losing, I don't want to say that they've been disestablishing jobs of people that maybe aren't justifying their salary. They're being very efficient at capital allocation, and they are. Yeah, I think that in the next 3 months we see a brand new VeVe, mid Q2.
Yeah, I like the team that they have lined up. They have an amazing lineup, like all the different people in the different positions. It's a really strong place to be. And 2025 this is the year of the bull market. Okay, digital collectibles narrative hasn't hit yet. It will, and it'll hit really hard. And Elmi is well positioned. It swung so far to the upside in 2021. It's now swung so far to the downside that we're starting to approach prices not too distant from last bear market. Though they're still quite a bit lower. We're getting close to that. Like, it swung too far to the downside, which is a good setup for it swinging too far to the upside again.
VeVe Magic says something about Easter eggs.
Should drop in some alpha here.
And is it only seen on the blue variant? Because I see that she has like a VeVe tattoo on her left leg. So that, I don't know if that's an Easter egg. You have these beautiful green eyes. You look like Emmy Rossum over here. And what are these little headset things connected to? Because they don't look like they're connected to your head. What are they? Do you have a headpiece? Do you have I don't know. What are you thinking, Rain? What are you
Well, she says it's easier to see on the non-blue version what the Easter egg is.
She doesn't have a hand. Her hand is like there's no hand in there. Her hand's just like a weapon.
Mm.
And her other hand is also. Did you lose your hands? Did you lose your hands?
First she blows out her knee, then she loses her hands. Damn, it's going bad.
Oh wait, no, I see. It's I thought she was grabbing something, but she has a little. Okay, I don't know what the other one is though. Yeah, I don't know. I will find it though. I'll find it and I will get back to you, Magic.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Yes, you can lose hope if you want to. Cool. We're not going to stop you. I'm really excited about Omi's value at these prices. It's incredible. And I love what's going on with VeVe, some good collectibles. I buy a lot of them off the resale market after they've gotten punished and everyone's forgotten about them because I'm savage like that. I buy low so that later when I sell, I can sell high. Cool. But I love what VeVe's doing, and their team is exceptional, and they keep making good decisions. Fair to say 3 years ago, sometimes we're like, nah, I feel like their team on this and this and this isn't quite so good, or maybe like 3.5 years ago. And now it's just like, I love who they have on their lineup. I feel like it's the Lakers, when they just couldn't be defeated. So we'll see. Wait till the narrative hits this run when everything's going crazy. I'm sure digital collectibles hits, and then we'll talk about where prices are at. Cool. We'll see y'all.
Bye, guys. I love you all. Silicone secure forever. Yeah. Everyone say bye-bye today. Bye-bye, douchey.